Chapter 1062. Leilei's boyfriend? Tell me exactly what happened. For the first time, Huang Xiaofei paid so much attention to Huang Leilei's boyfriend. Huang Xiaofei had never taken Huang Leilei's boyfriend seriously, but now he heard such shocking news. How could Huang Xiaofei not pay attention to it? President Zhang naturally did not dare to hide. From the first time Yang Ming came to the casino, to staying in Huang Leilei's room, to challenging Nanqing Casino, he told Huang Xiaofei the whole process. He can actually make Nanqing Casino lose so badly. Huang Xiaofei couldn't help but sigh. This person is really not simple. Yeah. President Zhang naturally did not know that something happened to the Huang family. He thought that Huang Xiaofei really appreciated Yang Ming, so he said, Yang Ming is a rare talent, but this person is a bit mysterious. I don't know what his family does. Otherwise, if he can help to manage the casino, it is only a matter of time before our Huawei casino becomes the first in Macau. Huang Xiaofei's mouth moved, but he did not say anything and hung up the phone. President Zhang's words made him re-examine this Yang Ming. It was true, but in Huang Xiaofei's heart, the best partner for Huang Leilei was still Li Tianjia. After all, the first impression was the strongest, and Li Tianjia's Li family's family background could be seen and felt. It was real, so even if Huang Xiaofei heard about Yang Ming's deeds in Macau, he just felt that this person was qualified to be Leilei's boyfriend. However, it was a critical period, and Huang Xiaofei was still more inclined to Li Tianjia. The business in Africa could not be developed without the support of the Li family. If he took Leilei's money and withdrew, then the Huang family's face would be lost in the future. Therefore, Huang Xiaofei couldn't afford to lose this face. When he invested in the gold mine of Country X in Africa valiantly, many pairs of eyes were looking at the Huang family. The Huang family was also a big family with a reputation here. If he withdrew with a loss this time, Huang Xiaofei would not be able to mix in the business world in the future. Leilei, why don't you call Yang Ming and ask him to come to Singapore? If he is really better than Li Tianjia, then I won't say anything. If not, then you have to agree to this marriage. Huang Xiaofei naturally did not say his evaluation criteria. His evaluation criteria was who could solve the problem in South Africa. If they couldn't solve it, they were out. It seemed to be fair, but in fact, it was completely inclined to Li Tianjia, because it had become an established fact that the Li family could solve the problem in South Africa. Okay. Huang Leilei had no choice. Now that there was some hope, she naturally wouldn't give up. When Yang Ming received Huang Leilei's call, he had just gotten up and was packing up. He planned to go to the hospital with Xiaoqing. At this moment, he was in Xiaoqing's room waiting for Xiaoqing to put on makeup. It was another phone call starting with a +001965 number. This time, Yang Ming didn't hesitate. He thought it was a call from Huang Rongjin, so he picked it up directly. Second brother Huang? Huang Leilei's unique naughty voice came from the phone. Although it was a little haggard, it could not hide the joy in the words. Leilei? You can make a call? Yang Ming was stunned. Or did you call secretly? Of course, it was allowed. Huang Leilei said with some grievances, otherwise, how can I get the phone? Did Little Fox Fairy contact you? Brother Huang also told me about you. Yang Ming sighed. Are you okay? I'm okay. Did you miss me? Huang Leilei was a person who was sad and happy quickly. In a blink of an eye, she forgot the troubles of the past few days, and her face returned to the past. I miss you. I am preparing to rescue you in a few days. Yang Ming said. That's just right. My father asked you to come to Singapore. He wants to see you, and then ask you to compete with that Li Tianjia to see who is better. Huang Leilei naturally told her father's purpose in advance to Yang Ming. Compete? What is there to compete with? Who is that idiot? Yang Ming didn't put that Li Tianjia in his eyes. I don't have time to care about him. I will go to Singapore to find you in a few days. Then, I will help your family solve the matter in Africa. Let that Li Tianjie stay where he is. Don't force me to destroy his family. Haha. Huang Lei listened to Yang Ming's words and immediately found it funny. Yeah, he is so annoying. When I am done with the things at hand, I will go to you, but the passport will take a few days, said Yang Ming. Okay, then I will wait for you. Huang Lei finished and hung up the phone. Probably someone was monitoring over there. Yang Ming didn't care much. After all, the Huang family's matter was very simple in his opinion. General Kars still had a favor to ask of him. Even if General Kars didn't ask for it, he would probably send the gold mine to Yang Ming's hands. In this year, who wanted to die? It had to be said that women were very slow before they went out. Xiao Qing was particularly careful today. She dressed up for more than half an hour before she came out of the bathroom slowly. When Xiao Qing came out of the bathroom, Yang Ming was suddenly shocked. Xiao Qing changed her previous long hair into a youthful ponytail, but she looked a few years younger. Standing on campus with Yang Ming, others would probably only think that the two people were classmates. Yang Ming, in order to cooperate with Xiao Qing, deliberately combed his hair meticulously. He seemed to have matured a lot, like a 27 or 28-year-old young man. In this way, it seemed that Yang Ming was a few years older than Xiao Qing. Qing, in the future, in front of outsiders, you have to call me Brother Yang. I will call you Sister Qing. Yang Ming said with a smile. What Sister Qing? It sounds so bad. Xiao Qing complained, but there was a hint of joy in her words. After all, Yang Ming praised her for being young, so Xiao Qing was naturally very happy. It's Sister Qing. You heard it wrong. Yang Ming smiled. Xiao Qing's face was red. She thought, of course, I know it's Sister Qing, but what's the difference between it and Sister Qing? Yang Ming started school. The first day was mainly to have a class meeting to talk about the rules and learning plans of the new semester. Yang Ming directly called Xia Yongxiang and said that there was something at home, so he asked for a morning off. Xia Yongxiang knew that Yang Ming was Xiao Qing's godson and Lu Weishan's godson, so he naturally agreed without hesitation. Xiao Qing, on the other hand, told the deputy director in the department that she would go to school in the afternoon. Yang Ming drove the car and drove Xiao Qing to the city's first people's hospital. Yang Ming didn't know where Xiao Qing's illness could be treated, and Xiao Qing herself usually didn't pay attention to this information, so temporarily, the two had to choose the most famous First People's Hospital in Songjiang City. Suddenly coming to the hospital to check this illness, Xiao Qing's heart was a little flustered. In the end, Yang Ming went to register a number, and then the two people took the number and waited at the door of the gynecology ward. In the early morning, there weren't many people seeing the doctor. Only 1 or 2 people were waiting. It didn't take long for Xiao Qing's number to arrive. Yang Ming accompanied Xiao Qing into the consultation room. This gentleman, who are you? Sitting in the expert's position was a middle-aged woman in her 40s. She saw Yang Ming and Xiao Qing come in together, so she asked. After all, visiting a gynecologist often required taking off one's pants, and it would involve some privacy issues, so even if Yang Ming was Xiao Qing's relative, he couldn't be present. I am her lover. Yang Ming said very naturally. Oh, that's fine. You can sit here. After listening to Yang Ming's words, the doctor nodded and allowed Yang Ming to sit here. What illness? Xiao Qing hesitated and was a little embarrassed. Yang Ming saw Xiao Qing's appearance and smiled faintly. Then, he said, let me say it. My wife and I have been married for many years. Recently, we wanted to have a child, but we have been. Oh, it's like this. There were 8 or 10 doctors who saw this illness every day, so she wasn't surprised. She just asked routinely, have you taken contraceptives or other drugs for a long time before? No. Yang Ming said, we haven't taken any measures. Oh, have you checked? The doctor glanced at Yang Ming and asked. Yang Ming suddenly sweated and said, I have checked. The problem isn't with me. Okay then. The doctor nodded and said, I will write a few lists. You take your wife to do the blood and urine routine, and then come back to me with the results. Okay, sorry to trouble you. Yang Ming said quickly. I thought your wife was much younger than you. I didn't expect her to be 30 years old. I really didn't see it. The doctor took the case book that Xiaoqing had just registered and glanced at the age on it. Yang Ming was speechless after listening. If he knew, he wouldn't deliberately dress up. Now, he looked a lot older, but he was actually made fun of by others. Yang Ming laughed twice and said, yeah, she takes good care of herself. Yang Ming took the list issued by the doctor and went out of the clinic with Xiaoqing. He first went to pay the bill, and then took Xiaoqing to do the test. The blood test was simple, and it was not painful. It was completed quickly. However, the second urine test made Xiaoqing a little embarrassed. Is it okay now? Yang Ming threw the empty mineral water bottle into the trash can and looked at Xiaoqing and asked. No. Xiaoqing's small face was red, and she was very embarrassed. However, the more anxious she was, the less she wanted to pee. The two people sat in the corridor of the hospital, quietly waiting for Xiaoqing to have a reaction. Do you want me to buy another bottle of water? Yang Ming looked at Xiaoqing helplessly and asked. Don't. When I move now, I feel that there is a sound of water in my stomach. Xiaoqing said with a bitter face. How about we exercise? Yang Ming suggested, anyway, it is already like this. We can't rush it. That's the only way. Xiaoqing nodded, stood up, and walked out of the hospital with Yang Ming. Chapter 1063. Yang Ming and Xiaoqing went out of the hospital and walked around the hospital. They felt a little cold, so they got in the car. Let's find a place to eat first. Anyway, the blood has been drawn. Yang Ming suggested. Before, for Xiaoqing's blood test, both of them didn't eat breakfast, so they were really hungry at the moment. Okay, then let's eat something first. Xiaoqing nodded and agreed. What do you want to eat? Asked Yang Ming. Drink some hot porridge or something like that. Xiaoqing said. So, Yang Ming drove around aimlessly on the side of the road and finally saw a porridge shop. It looked pretty good, so Yang Ming parked the car in front of the porridge shop and got off with Xiaoqing. The porridge shop was a new breakfast business in Songjiang. It was generally more common in the south. However, in Songjiang, it was improved a lot according to the taste of the people here. Some of the sweetness was removed so that the porridge was not so greasy. It was also popular with the public. This porridge shop was similar to the marketing model of KFC. It belonged to the kind of fast food shop. They paid at the bar and then took the food to find a seat. Yang Ming and Xiaoqing ordered a bowl of relatively light porridge and a few special side dishes. They took the tray and looked for a seat. Because it was now 9:00 in the morning, there were a lot of people who came to eat breakfast. After looking around the lobby, they didn't find a vacant seat. They could only find a 4-person table with only 2 people and share a table with others. Yang Ming put down the tray and sat opposite to a middle-aged couple with Xiaoqing. Yang Ming put the porridge on the tray in front of Xiaoqing and said, Qing, be careful. It's hot. Xiaoqing smiled happily. Although her relationship with Yang Ming was not good to be exposed, she enjoyed Yang Ming's lover's care. You are Xiaoqing? The young woman sitting opposite Yang Ming and Xiaoqing looked up hesitantly and looked at Xiaoqing. Ah. Xiaoqing was stunned and looked at the other party. She vaguely felt that she was familiar, but she couldn't remember it for a while. I am Zhang Yu. Are you really Xiaoqing? We are college classmates. We are in the same dorm. Zhang Yu said with some excitement. Zhang Yu. It's you. Xiaoqing finally recognized the other party. Sure enough, she saw the face of the other party in her memory. What a coincidence. Zhang Yu nodded and said, I didn't expect you to look so good. Hee, I originally had this confidence and thought that I was very young, but now, compared to you, I am far behind. Zhang Yu shook her head and said with a wry smile. By the way, won't you introduce him to me? My lover, Bao Shuping. Zhang Yu said, I got married 3 years ago. I wanted to ask you to come, but after that incident, you lost contact with your classmates. I couldn't find you. You, on the other hand, found a happy partner, but you didn't tell me, your sister. That's not good enough, right? Xiao Qing listened to Zhang Yu's words and smiled embarrassedly. Indeed, since Song Hang's incident, Xiao Qing had closed herself off. She rarely contacted her former friends and classmates. She didn't even go on the alumni list. Qing and I just met last year. We just registered. We haven't held a banquet yet. I will definitely inform everyone. Yang Ming saw that Xiao Qing was a little embarrassed, so he explained for her, let me introduce myself. I am Yang Ming. I do a small business. Yang Ming did not say his identity as a student because he played the role of a person who was about the same age as Xiao Qing beside Xiao Qing, so Yang Ming directly said his profession. I can see that he is very good to you. Zhang Yu saw that Yang Ming spoke first, so she said to Xiao Qing with a smile. Xiao Qing didn't expect Yang Ming to say this, but since he had already said it, Xiao Qing couldn't deny it anymore. She had to say, our relationship is not bad. Right, where are you now? I am still in Mount Jing. I stayed there after graduation. I also met Shuping there. Zhang Yu said, Song Jiang is going to hold an international jewelry exhibition. Shuping's company is in jewelry. I accompanied him to book the venue in advance. I didn't expect to meet an acquaintance. Speaking of this, Zhang Yu's tone was not without pride. Even in front of a good friend, women were very prideful. When she said that her lover had a jewelry company, Zhang Yu felt that she had a sense of accomplishment. Especially in front of Xiao Qing, who looked younger and more beautiful than herself, a little show-off could still satisfy her vanity. After all, Yang Ming's clothes were very ordinary. There was nothing special. Yang Ming said before that he was just doing a small business. Obviously, he wouldn't be too rich. It was not that Zhang Yu looked down on Xiao Qing, but she said these words out of instinct. You are not bad. Xiao Qing was not short of money, so after listening to Zhang Yu's words, she didn't feel anything wrong. She really felt that Zhang Yu married a good husband. Zhang Yu smiled and thought that Xiao Qing was envious of her. Her heart was full of pride. Zhang Yu was happy, but Bao Shuping was not very happy at the moment. He was even a little worried. He and Zhang Yu came to Songjiang the day before yesterday. Then, they went to the venue of the exhibition to book the exhibition. Bao Shuping's company's scale was not bad, so he wanted a better showcase. However, after he went there, he found that many of the showcases with good locations were not for rent. The Mingyang Entertainment Company, which was responsible for the operation of the exhibition, was also very arrogant. They directly told Bao Shuping that there were no good locations, and there were only other ones. Bao Shuping was also a character in Mount Jing. He had some social connections, so he was angry. He immediately said ruthless words to the operator to wait. He would teach them a lesson, but the other party just sneered. In Bao Shuping's view, Songjiang and Mount Jing were very close. With his own connections, he should be able to find this place. Besides, it was just a small entertainment company. It was not a big deal. He could just find someone to teach them a lesson. However, this morning, Bao Shuping's connection gave him a reply. He completely told Bao Shuping about the background of Mingyang Entertainment, and he simply told Bao Shuping that he couldn't do anything. Bao Shuping was scared when he heard it. He didn't expect that the operator would have such power and background. However, he boasted ruthless words in front of them to teach them a lesson. Bao Shuping was afraid of retaliation. It didn't matter if the venue was not rented to him. He was afraid that the other party would not let him go. Then, he would have to suffer. Therefore, Bao Shuping planned to go to the office of the exhibition again after breakfast to apologize. Of course, because he was afraid that Zhang Yu would be worried, Bao Shuping did not tell her about it. Zhang Yu thought that Bao Shuping's relationship with Ping Tuo had made progress, so they had to choose a venue again today. How would she know that there were such twists and turns? However, since it was Zhang Yu's classmate, Bao Shuping couldn't show his own worries. He had to force a smile and deal with it. Bao Shuping, I'm in the jewelry business. Nice to meet you. The four people ate and left the porridge shop. Yang Ming and Xiao Qing had nothing to do anyway, so they proposed to go to the exhibition with Zhang Yu and the others. Zhang Yu naturally agreed. She wanted to show off in front of Xiao Qing that Bao Shuping had a lot of power. He could find a relationship with Song Jiang and reserve a good location in Mount Jing. Zhang Yu thought that Yang Ming was just doing a small business, but she didn't expect Yang Ming and Xiao Qing to get on a BMW X5 with the license plate 88B88. She was stunned. Zhang Yu and Bao Shuping also often mingled in the upper-class society. They knew the meaning of this car. In other words, Yang Ming's relationship in Songjiang could be said to be very strong. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to drive this brand of car on the road. If he didn't have such great ability, he would be despised by others for driving this kind of brand. Even Bao Shuping was stunned. He looked at the X5 that slowly followed behind his Mercedes-Benz. He asked in amazement, Zhang Yu, what does your classmate's family do? Xiao Qing's parents are gone. It should be nothing. I don't know about her husband. It's my first time seeing him. Zhang Yu shook her head and said. We can't drive this kind of license plate in Mount Jing. My license plate is a tractor's license plate. I spent a lot of money to buy it from the auction house. I think this Yang Ming isn't just doing a small business, said Bao Shuping. Yeah. Zhang Yu blushed a little. She was bragging before, but she didn't expect him to be so badass. However, it's good to let them go with us. Let's see if they can help us speak. Bao Shuping didn't want to ask Yang Ming and Xiao Qing to follow, but at this moment, when he saw Yang Ming's car and the association realized the identity of Yang Ming, he changed his mind. Maybe Yang Ming and the organizer knew each other. He only had a verbal conflict with them. With Yang Ming mediating in the middle, things should turn around. Speak. What are you talking about? Zhang Yu was somewhat inexplicable. There are some things that I didn't dare to tell you before. Now that we are almost there, I will tell you. Bao Shuping helplessly told Zhang Yu about the incident. Ah. Zhang Yu was shocked and her face suddenly changed. You said that we offended the local underworld? It's not that serious. The Ming Yang company has been cleaned up, but it still indirectly controls the underground forces of Songjiang. We will apologize in a while. They probably can't do anything to us. After all, they are now a legitimate company, said Bao Shuping. Chapter 1064. Why did you say that before? After getting in the car, Xiao Qing said with some embarrassment, Zhang Yu has contact with many classmates. You said that you would hold a banquet for a while. If you don't hold it, how can you explain it? Won't they think that I was abandoned for the second time? Ha, that's impossible. I'm not that idiot Song Hang. Yang Ming said with a smile, I naturally want to let your classmates see that you are very happy now. Otherwise, there will be some people who are jealous of your beauty and gloat. Indeed, what Yang Ming said before was to let Zhang Yu spread it through her mouth so that Xiao Qing's former friends would know that Xiao Qing was very happy now. Xiao Qing nodded and understood Yang Ming's thoughts, so she didn't say anything. However, she was also very happy. After all, when Song Heng disappeared at the wedding, many friends looked at her with strange eyes. Now, if Zhang Yu said that she was married again and was very happy, probably those previous views would disappear. Right, Yang Ming, didn't you open a jewelry company? Is your company participating in this jewelry exhibition? Asked Xiaoqing. Yes, so I decided to take a look at the exhibition venue on the way to see if we have reserved a showcase. If we don't have a reservation, we will book it directly, said Yang Ming. Then let's go and have a look together. Xiaoqing said, Godfather is also very concerned about you. If it weren't for the recent incident, he would probably attend the exhibition. Yeah, Godfather's mood hasn't been very good recently, but I will try my best to help Godfather find Brother Tianqi, said Yang Ming. Yang Ming had already sent Lu Tianqi's information to Xia Bingbao. Anyway, Yang Ming had this identity. It would be a waste not to use it. The police couldn't do anything, but it didn't mean that the Supernatural Investigation Bureau couldn't do anything. Yang Ming had personally experienced the wonders of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. They even clearly investigated some of his private matters. Such power could not be underestimated. Therefore, Yang Ming passed Lu Tianqi's information to Xia Bingbao through the computer network when Xiaoqing was taking a bath last night. For Yang Ming's personal commission, Xia Bingbao couldn't ignore it. He still had to ask Yang Ming for help in the future. He was afraid that he would owe too many favors to Yang Ming. At that time, Yang Ming would not be willing to help. Now that Yang Ming took the initiative to contact him and asked for his help, Xia Bingbao naturally agreed. When Yang Ming was preparing to take off his clothes last night, he found the certificate that Xia Bingbao gave him and suddenly remembered it. Yang Ming was still confident in Xia Bingbao's ability to do things, but if Xia Bingbao couldn't do anything, then there was really little hope. Right, do you have the urge to pee? Yang Ming suddenly thought of a crucial thing, which was the ultimate purpose of his and Xiaoqing's trip. Not yet. Xiaoqing blushed and said shyly, maybe soon. This kind of thing was a physiological reaction. It couldn't be rushed, so Yang Ming couldn't urge her. He could only wait quietly. However, sometimes things tend to be like this. The more anxious you are, the more it won't come. This was the so-called conditioned reflex. Well, then let's wait. As Yang Ming said this, he suddenly thought of something. He said with a lewd expression, right, I have a trick. If you are interested, we can try it. What trick? Xiaoqing was stunned and asked. When Yang Ming was waiting for the signal light, he leaned over Xiaoqing's ear and whispered a few words. Xiaoqing suddenly blushed. Yeah, Yang Ming, what are you talking about? What I said is the truth. Yang Ming smiled. Xiaoqing glared at Yang Ming, but after a while, she asked curiously, you said that every time Lan Ling does it with you, it will. Yeah, AI, we have to change the bed sheets at night before we can sleep. Yang Ming sighed. Why don't we try it? I won't try it. Xiaoqing said shyly, but she added, if you want to try, you can't try it now. Then, it's fine at night? Yang Ming heard Xiaoqing's words. It seemed that there was a way, so he asked quickly. Let's talk about it at night. Xiaoqing said lazily, now you should drive your car. Don't think about it, or we won't have a chance to try it in the future. Xiaoqing had always been like this. For some of Yang Ming's requests, although she was shy, she would not refuse. This was one of the reasons why Yang Ming was obsessed with her. Yang Ming had never been to the jewelry exhibition, and he didn't know where the exhibition was held. Zhao Sisi had always followed up, but at this moment, it was his first time going. However, it didn't matter. With Bao Shuping's car leading the way in front, Yang Ming just followed him directly behind. He didn't have to look for it himself. It didn't take long for Bao Shuping's car to enter the parking lot of Songjiang's largest convention and exhibition center. Yang Ming also followed his car in. One after another, they found an empty space to park the car, and then they got off separately. At this time, Zhang Yu's gaze toward Xiaoqing and Yang Ming had completely changed. She became somewhat envious. Originally, Zhang Yu had a better home among her classmates in university. Bao Shuping was young and promising. He owned a jewelry company, and he was the object of envy of many students. However, compared with the current Xiaoqing, there was naturally a gap. Although the BMW and the Mercedes-Benz were similar in grade and price, the gap could be distinguished from the license plate number. Zhang Yu blushed when she remembered that she still boasted in front of Xiaoqing and Yang Ming. Under Bao Shuping's lead, the four people came to the reception room of the exhibition. Last time, Bao Shuping talked to a middle-level leader of Ming Yang Entertainment who was in charge of the exhibition. He was also the person in charge of the venue of this exhibition. Bao Shuping had a disagreement with him, so today, he directly asked the staff to inform the person in charge and invite him to come over to discuss. It didn't take long for the person in charge to come. Bao Shuping quickly stood up and wanted to say something, but the person in charge didn't seem to see him. He went directly to Yang Ming and said respectfully, "Brother Yang, why are you here personally?" The person in charge's move shocked everyone present. Bao Shuping and Zhang Yu didn't expect that the person in charge, who had always been arrogant, would be so humble and calm today. However, even Yang Ming was somewhat inexplicable. He pointed at himself strangely and said, "Do you know me?" Yang Ming didn't know that the venue of the exhibition was completely in charge of Ming Yang. He thought that it was only responsible for the security of the venue, so when he saw that the person in charge knew him, he was somewhat puzzled. NN. The person in charge nodded and said, "I was President Ho's secretary. I have seen you several times, but you may not remember me." Yang Ming broke into a sweat. How can I remember Ho Jinhan's secretary? Moreover, my face is basically a celebrity. In the Ming Yang organization, there is almost no one who doesn't know me. Why are you in charge here? Yang Ming asked, baffled. Isn't only the security business under Ming Yang? No, including the operation of the exhibition and the allocation of display cabinets, it is all under Ming Yang's control. The person in charge explained, President Ho sent me to be in charge of the matters here. Yang Ming nodded after listening, but he was somewhat puzzled. Logically, this kind of allocation of venues shouldn't be operated by an outside company. It should be directly operated by the Jewelry Association. I don't know what it means this time. Do they trust Ming Yang too much, or do they want to delegate power? Yang Ming didn't understand, so he didn't think about it for the time being. It was difficult to figure out this kind of thing without asking the person involved. However, Yang Ming saw that the exhibition was operated by his own people, so he wasn't worried. If Zhao Cixi couldn't get a good position, then she took the initiative to not want it. It was impossible not to leave a good position for her. After the person in charge finished talking to Yang Ming, he noticed Bao Shuping who came with him. He immediately recognized Bao Shuping and was stunned. He suddenly began to complain in his heart. Motherfucker, you know Brother Yang. Why didn't you say so earlier? You said it earlier. Isn't it just a matter of a word? Why did you invite Brother Yang personally? This is really embarrassing for me. If President Bao or President Ho knew about this, they would be angry again. I don't know how they would punish me. Thinking of this, the person in charge suddenly showed a smile that was uglier than crying. He said with a smile, Mr. Bao, you see, you know Brother Yang. You just need to mention a word that day. You don't have to let Brother Yang come personally. My attitude that day was a bit bad. I'm really sorry. When Bao Shuping saw the person in charge's 180-degree turn, he was stunned, but he immediately thought of what the person said, and he understood it in his heart. This person in charge must have misunderstood. He misunderstood that I invited Yang Ming to fulfill the words I said that day. I came to teach him a good lesson. I didn't expect to meet a noble person on the road by accident. The problem was actually solved. Thinking of this, Bao Shuping felt a burst of pleasure in his heart as if he had vented his anger. However, Yang Ming was on the side. He naturally wouldn't be too arrogant. It was fine as long as the purpose was achieved. There was no need to be aggressive, so he said, Hee, we just met by chance. My wife and Mr. Yang's wife are classmates and good friends. Their relationship is good. The person in charge naturally didn't believe it, but since Bao Shuping said so, He would also take advantage of the situation and said, "Well said, but you can rest assured about the location of the exhibition. It will definitely satisfy you." Since Brother Yang and Bao Shuping didn't pursue it, the person in charge naturally wouldn't say anything. At this moment, Zhang Yu's look at Xiao Qing was more complicated than before. She didn't expect that Xiao Qing would find such a powerful husband. Chapter 1065. Bao Shuping's heart confirmed his previous impression of Yang Ming. Yang Ming's background in Songjiang was extraordinary. Even the Ming-Yang company was respectful to him. The so-called respect was a bit of fear and humility. It was not as simple as politeness. Bao Shuping saw this very clearly. The look in the eyes of the person in charge couldn't lie. Bao Shuping was still in shock when he walked out of the exhibition center. After all, the shock he had just received was too strong. Bao Shuping still had an unreal feeling until he signed a contract for a very good showcase. "Zhang Yu, your classmate is really amazing. Didn't you say that she can't have children? She was abandoned by her husband on the day of the wedding. I don't think she is so miserable." Bao Shuping whispered, "She seems to be in good spirits. Who knows? Maybe it has been cured. Now that medicine is so advanced, that kind of disease is not a terminal illness. There should be a way." Zhang Yu sighed and said, "In the future, it seems that I have to be low-key. Compared with Xiao Qing, I understand that the gap between us is really big. Hang out with her more in the future. Didn't you have a good relationship in university?" Bao Shuping said, "In the future, I will have to trouble them more in Songjiang." "I know. I will contact her." Zhang Yu nodded. She wasn't stupid. This kind of relationship must be firmly grasped. On the way back, Xiao Qing asked curiously, "Yang Ming, why did he call you Brother Yang?" "He, I am a friend's subordinate. Of course, he is polite to me." Yang Ming smiled and said, "This time, I think your classmates don't dare to look down on you. They will probably come to curry favor with you. You are so capable." Xiao Qing smiled and gently tapped Yang Ming's forehead. "People think that I have a sugar daddy. They can say whatever they want. Their mouths are on their bodies. They envy you. Naturally, someone will say something sarcastic. It is called sour grapes." Yang Ming smiled and said, "Sister Xiao Qing is 1 in a million. I don't want them even if they give them to me for free." Xiao Qing smiled sweetly. Suddenly, her face changed. "Yeah, I can't. I want to go to the toilet." "Ah." Yang Ming sweated profusely. "Are you serious? Now? Are you sure?" Now." Xiao Qing said with a bitter face, "I can't. I can't hold it anymore, but now." Yang Ming looked around. There was no place to go to the toilet. Now that the car was on the overpass, if he wanted to go to the toilet, he could only do it on the spot. However, it was obviously inappropriate. Yang Ming parked the car on the side of the road and said, "Why don't you stay in the car? Anyway, the windows are covered with film. No one can see." "Then you're not human?" Xiao Qing rolled her eyes at Yang Ming and complained, "We're in the car. How can I do that?" It's not like I haven't seen it before. I've seen it 100 times." Yang Ming laughed and said, "You don't have to hide it from me. A living person can't hold his pee to death, right? Now we can only do it here. There is no other way." Xiao Qing thought of the current situation. It was indeed as Yang Ming said. There was no other way except for this. Therefore, Xiao Qing gritted her teeth and nodded. "That's the only way, let me help you." Yang Ming saw that the car was relatively narrow. It wasn't easy for Xiao Qing to operate by herself, so he leaned down without any explanation and probed into Xiao Qing's leather skirt. "Yeah." Xiao Qing was shocked. She was anxious and shy. "Yang Ming, what are you doing? let me do it myself. Although Xiaoqing and Yang Ming already had the most intimate relationship, after all, these were two different concepts. How could Xiaoqing ask Yang Ming to do it himself? However, Yang Ming had already taken off her stockings because Yang Ming was leaning over there. Xiaoqing couldn't lean over anymore. She could only let Yang Ming manipulate her. Although she was very shy, there was no other way. Yang Ming took the plastic bag given by the hospital and put it in front of Xiaoqing. He said, "Okay, it's done, don't." Xiaoqing shook her head desperately. "Yang Ming, you look up." "Don't look." Yang Ming acted as if he didn't hear it. He lowered his head and whistled. Xiaoqing was already unable to bear it. Now that Yang Ming whistled again, her physiology naturally reacted. Finally, under the gaze of Yang Ming, she completed this shameful thing. Xiaoqing's face was as red as burning charcoal. She felt that her whole body was burning. "Okay. The mission is completed." Yang Ming raised the plastic bag in his hand and said, "Yeah, put it down." Xiaoqing said as she reached out to grab the bag in Yang Ming's hand. "Don't move. You don't want both of us to be drenched, right?" Yang Ming carefully sealed the bag and then put it in another plastic bag. He said, "What is there to be embarrassed about? Why do we still have to be so distant?" Xiaoqing said in her heart, "This is not a problem of estrangement, but a problem of my face." Suddenly, she felt that her lower body was cold. Xiaoqing was shocked and said, "Yang Ming, why didn't you put my stockings back?" Sorry Roy. Yang Ming said as he quickly leaned over and helped Xiaoqing to pull up her pants. Xiaoqing had been tricked by Yang Ming once before. Now she was mentally prepared, so she let him continue to play with her. However, Xiaoqing was afraid that there would be a smell in the car, so she opened the window a little. At this time, there was a sports car passing by. When it saw Yang Ming's car parked on the side of the road with a double flash, it slowed down curiously and looked inside through the window. Suddenly, the young man who drove the sports car and his girlfriend next to him were shocked. "Damn, you're so fierce. You couldn't help it on the viaduct and helped that woman to have sex." "Dear, look at him. He gave that to his girlfriend. You also want to give it to me?" The young man's girlfriend acted coquettishly. "I don't have that courage. Let's go home and do it. He is a real man." The young man was horrified and drove the car away. Xiaoqing suddenly blushed. She didn't expect to encounter this when she simply opened the window. It was really bad luck. Yang Ming also heard the conversation outside the window. He couldn't help but laugh. These people can really association. Imagination is terrible. After helping Xiaoqing with the stockings, Yang Ming turned off the double flash lights and drove in the direction of the hospital. After some examinations were done according to the doctor's instructions, the results of the tests also came out together. The current technological means were much better than a few years ago. The results were also very clear. That was, Xiaoqing's body originally had no problem, and she was not infertile. However, in Xiaoqing's body fluid, there was a substance that hindered the survival of sperm. This kind of physique belonged to a very special category. That was to say, when the sperm entered Xiaoqing's body, it could be quickly killed by the body fluid, causing her to be unable to conceive. "Doctor, is there any way to make my wife pregnant?" After listening to the doctor's explanation, Yang Ming asked as if he understood. "Your wife's situation is not that she is completely unable to get pregnant." The doctor explained, "It's just that the probability is relatively low. The days with the least lethality are the days before and after menstruation, and these days are the safe period for the body's physiology, so the probability of pregnancy is even lower. However, I can prescribe some external medicine to reduce the lethality. But whether it is effective or not, you have to experiment with it yourself. Apart from this, is there no other way?" Yang Ming listened to this method, but it didn't seem to be the case. This method didn't seem to work. There are naturally other ways, but I recommend you to see Chinese medicine and take some Chinese medicine to completely change your physique. I can only treat the symptoms, but not the root cause. The doctor said, my teacher is in the second affiliated hospital of the Chinese Medicine Academy. You can visit her. Maybe she will have a good way. Of course, if it doesn't work, it can't be operated in the end. Now that medical technology is so developed, it is possible to cultivate embryos in vitro. Then I will trouble you. Yang Ming said quickly when he heard that there was still hope. I will write a letter of recommendation for you. My teacher doesn't make house calls easily now. The doctor was a good person and was more enthusiastic. She wrote a note to Yang Ming and wrote the reason on the note. Your wife's situation is relatively rare, so after my teacher sees it, she should pay more attention. Thank you. As Yang Ming said this, he took out a red envelope prepared in advance from his pocket and gave it to the doctor. Each industry had its own rules. Although Yang Ming could do whatever he wanted in Songjiang, he couldn't control all industries. The doctor declined for a long time and finally accepted it. Yang Ming didn't give much. He only put 500 yuan in it, which was not a big bribe. Outside the hospital, Yang Ming took out the note written by the doctor and said to Xiaoqing, are we going now? And, then let's go. Anyway, we have already asked for leave today. Xiaoqing nodded and said. Now she also had some confidence. After all, if it really didn't work, there was still a last resort. It was not hopeless. Yang Ming nodded and drove to the second affiliated hospital of the Chinese Medicine Academy. When they arrived there, they found out that the doctor's teacher didn't make house calls often. She only made house calls a few days a month. The rest of the time was spent teaching graduate students at the medical university. When Yang Ming and Xiaoqing arrived at the second Chinese Medicine Academy, the teacher just went to the school to lecture graduate students. She wasn't in the hospital. The two people were in vain. After asking, they learned that the teacher couldn't come back today. The two people had to leave the hospital and make other plans. They would visit another time. Xiaoqing was sent back to school first. Yang Ming also returned to the dormitory, but he found that Zhang Bin and Tian Donghua were not there. There was no one in the dormitory. After calling, he learned that Tian Donghua's younger brother had come. Zhang Bin drove with Tian Donghua to meet him. Chapter 1066. For the arrival of Tian Donghua's younger brother, Tian Dongguang, Yang Ming had some headaches. This kid wanted to be apprenticed, and Yang Ming really had nothing to teach him. Yang Ming was afraid of being entangled, so it was better to leave first. He called Chen Mengyan. Chen Mengyan was preparing to accompany Lin Jiyun to the company. Just as they walked to the school gate, she said, Yang Ming, if you have nothing to do, come and send us off. Yang Ming was worried that he had nothing to do, so he naturally agreed. He drove to the school gate and saw Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun standing together. The two beauties each had their own characteristics, forming a beautiful scenery that attracted the attention of many single young men on campus. After Yang Ming's car arrived, Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun got in the car. Yang Ming only felt that he seemed to be seen through by jealous eyes, so he quickly drove away from the school. Can you two not dress up so beautifully? If I walked slower and was remembered, would probably be hunted down. Yang Ming said with a bitter smile. What dress up? You didn't dress up at all. Chen Mengyan said, if you are afraid, then don't be with us. Ha, what a joke. I, Yang Ming, have never been afraid of anyone. Yang Ming laughed twice. Indeed, Yang Ming wasn't afraid of anyone, but if someone really posted about him on the campus forum, and then someone looked at him like a panda every day, it wasn't what Yang Ming wanted. Then, are you afraid of me? Chen Mengyan asked with a smile after listening. Ugh. Yang Ming suddenly sweated. For you, actually, I shouldn't be afraid because I love you, so I'm afraid of you. You pass. Chen Mengyan said with a humph, but Lin Jiyun sat aside and snickered. The dialogue between Yang Ming and Chen Mengyan was sometimes very interesting. Right, where is Zhao Cece? Isn't she going to the company? Yang Ming was a bit puzzled. Usually, when Lin Jiyun went to the company, she was with Zhao Cece. Why was she alone today? Zhao Cece? Chen Mengyan rolled her eyes at Yang Ming. Isn't it because of you? Because of me? What does it have to do with me? Yang Ming was somewhat inexplicable. He didn't think that Zhao Cece had anything to do with him. Zhang Bing learned from you and found a lover. Of course, Zhao Cece went to talk to the little vixen. Chen Mengyan said. But then he remembered that Lin Jiyun was by his side. What he just said was a bit inappropriate, so he quickly said, Sister Lin, I didn't say that. Don't think too much. I know. Lin Jiyun naturally knew that Chen Mengyan wouldn't scold her. Lin Jiyun understood Chen Mengyan's temper. Although she was sometimes proud, her heart was very kind. How can you learn this from me? Yang Ming smiled bitterly. Zhang Bin, this kid, didn't learn good things in high school. He always urged me to have one-night stands. Fortunately, I only had you in my heart at that time, so I wasn't bewitched. Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun couldn't help but laugh when they heard Yang Ming's words. Originally, Chen Mengyan was just casually saying it. She didn't blame Yang Ming. When they arrived at the company, Yang Ming and the other two went in together. After the fire, the company's facade was refurbished and looked brand new. However, there were no changes inside. Lin Jiyun's office was still located in the glass partition on the second floor. President Lin, Mr. Yang. The people in the company greeted Lin Jiyun and Yang Ming. Yang Ming was the company's investor. This was no longer a secret. Most of the senior executives in the company knew, so after seeing Yang Ming, they also greeted Yang Ming. However, most people hadn't seen Chen Mengyan before, but when they saw her walking with Yang Ming and Lin Jiyun, they nodded to her in a friendly manner. President Lin, the payment for the store this morning. When the company's finance department saw Lin Jiyun, they quickly greeted her and said, President Zhao didn't come today. Zhao Cece was responsible for depositing the company's payment in the bank every day, but Zhao Cece didn't come today, so the finance department found Lin Jiyun and asked her what to do. I'll go. Lin Jiyun naturally knew about this matter, so she nodded and said. Every day, the store on the commercial street would generate a lot of payment. Because the number was relatively large, it wasn't good to put it in the company, so it would be deposited in the bank every day. After the finance department counted today's payment in front of Lin Jiyun, they put it in a small suitcase and handed it to Lin Jiyun. Yang Ming, Sister Mengyan, I'm going to the bank. You guys wait for me in the company. Lin Jiyun took the small suitcase and said. I'll send you. Yang Ming said, it's not safe for a girl like you to carry so much money. It's okay. Zhao Cece goes by herself every day. Lin Jiyun smiled and said, there are a lot of people on the commercial street. There won't be any danger. Forget it. Don't you remember that you were robbed in the commercial street? Yang Ming shook his head and said, I don't dare to take the risk. Besides, it's not very troublesome. Lin Jiyun couldn't be helped. She had to nod and agree to let Yang Ming go with her. Chen Mengyan wasn't very familiar with the company's business. She had nothing to do here, so she also accompanied Lin Jiyun to the bank. Seeing Yang Ming take out the car's remote control, Lin Jiyun was a bit baffled. Yang Ming, the bank is not far ahead. You don't have to drive there. Get in the car. It's not much trouble anyway. Yang Ming pressed the car's remote control lock and said. Although Lin Jiyun felt that Yang Ming was making a fuss, she still got in the car with Chen Mengyan. On the way to the company, they passed by a bank. It was also the nearest bank nearby. Zhao Cece should have opened an account here. Sure enough, Yang Ming didn't ask. After stopping the car, Lin Jiyun also opened the door normally and walked into the bank. It was this bank. It couldn't be wrong. At noon, there weren't many people in the bank. Lin Jiyun took the number plate, and there were only 3 people waiting in front. Just when Lin Jiyun's number plate came from the speaker, there was a loud noise at the bank's door, and then the alarm sounded. The bank was suddenly in a mess. Those who withdrew money, those who withdrew money, those who did business, those who finished business, those who waited, and so on. Everything stopped there for a moment. Then, 3 people wearing black coats and black masks rushed into the bank. The previous alarm was caused by one of them breaking the surveillance video at the door. However, the alarm didn't affect the actions of the 3 people. One of the 3 people held a submachine gun similar to an AK-47, and the other 2 people held a Type 54 pistol in their hands. The macho man with the submachine gun rushed into the bank first. 2 shots broke the surveillance cameras at the left and right corners. The accuracy of the shot was amazing. Don't move. When the other 2 people also entered the bank, one on the left and one on the right of the macho man with the submachine gun, the macho man with the submachine gun shouted. In fact, he didn't need to speak. The people in the bank had long been at a loss. The bank's security guard hesitated whether to do anything. After all, he was the only one who had the ability to do something. However, when the security guard's hand just touched his waist, there was a gunshot. The security guard's glabella was shot by the macho man with the pistol on the right. He fell to the ground without a sound. Ah! The customers and staff in the bank were shocked. They all screamed in horror. Yang Ming frowned. Isn't this group of robbers too professional? Although submachine guns were relatively rare, robbers with connections could still get them. This was nothing, but what made Yang Ming feel suspicious was that these people's marksmanship was so accurate. They didn't miss a single shot. Through their masks, Yang Ming saw 3 expressionless faces. Their eyes were full of coldness. There was nothing special. 3 very ordinary people. Shut up, all of you. The gangster with the submachine gun in his hand said coldly, if you don't want to be like him, stand still and don't move. These words were like magic. The people who listened closed their mouths and didn't dare to speak. No one wanted to be the second security guard. Seeing these people shoot without blinking, no one dared to act rashly. The customers in the bank listened to me. It's none of your business. You all go over there and squat on the ground with your hands on your head. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. The gangster with the submachine gun was very satisfied with the situation in front of him. He pointed to the side of the bank with the muzzle and said to the customers in the bank. Yang Ming, what should we do? Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun held Yang Ming's hand tightly. At this moment, Chen Mengyan's forehead was full of sweat. It doesn't matter. Let's wait and see. Yang Ming was also hesitating whether he should make a move. Although Yang Ming was very conceited, he wasn't a fool. These 3 people were all armed with firearms. If he fought with them without any weapons, wouldn't that be courting death? The king of assassins was also made of flesh and blood. Yang Ming didn't practice the golden bell shield or iron mantle. It was impossible to resist the damage of bullets. If they were ordinary robbers, Yang Ming still had some confidence. However, the marksmanship shown by these 3 robbers was not comparable to ordinary robbers. They were simply sharpshooters, so Yang Ming didn't dare to act rashly. These people had excellent marksmanship. Who knew if their kung fu was the same? Yang Ming wouldn't do things that he wasn't sure of. However, although he wasn't sure of attacking, he was more than enough to protect himself. Yang Ming's attention was always on the 3 robbers. As long as they dared to make a move on Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun, Yang Ming would definitely fight with them to the death. Yang Ming and the other 2 people came to the place mentioned by the robbers like other customers and squatted down. The robbers looked at the people who didn't resist and nodded with satisfaction. Then, they pointed their guns at the staff behind the counter. Take out all the money. Hurry up. I don't want to waste bullets. Chapter 1067. The teller didn't dare to hesitate. He hurriedly took out the cash and put it in the bag specified by the robber. In this case, no one would take their life as a joke. Even if the leader would blame them later, they couldn't care too much. The robber took the bag with the money in his hand and didn't check if there was any money left in the counter. He began to retreat from the bank in an orderly manner. The last one to retreat was the macho man with the submachine gun. Before leaving, he quickly used automatic spray paint to leave 2 large English letters, S.B., on the wall of the bank. Then, he quickly disappeared from the door. The whole process was less than 5 minutes. Although someone had already called the police were unlikely to arrive within 5 minutes. The robber's speed, calmness, and professionalism made Yang Ming feel very puzzled. Especially after the robber got the money, he didn't even look at it. This made Yang Ming even more puzzled. Yang Ming even had a feeling that these robbers didn't come to rob the bank for money. Perhaps, they were too professional and wouldn't waste time counting money. This was also the reason why they escaped smoothly. In short, Yang Ming always felt that something was wrong, but what was wrong, Yang Ming couldn't say. Also, before the robber left, the 2 English letters painted on the wall of the bank made people feel a little weird. What did the robber want to do? Did he want to use this to express something, or was it purely a joke to scold the people in the bank as idiots? Or, was there any other special purpose? Yang Ming didn't have time to think so much. When the robber left, the customers in the bank were in a mess. They fled to the bank door. The bank door, which was not big, was instantly blocked by these customers. At the same time, there was a faint sound of sirens not far away. These customers hadn't completely run out of the bank, and the bank was surrounded by armed police officers. It had to be said that these police officers came quickly, but they were still slower than the robbers. Because these 3 robbers were too professional. However, the police outside apparently didn't realize that the robbers had already evacuated at this moment. They carefully set up a cordon and shouted into the bank, "The people inside listen. You are surrounded. Please put down the weapons in your hands immediately. Don't make unnecessary resistance." When the customers in the bank rushed out of the bank, the police outside were at a loss for a while. After all, this situation was very rare. They had never seen a robber who would take the initiative to let the hostages out. However, it was also possible that the robbers wanted to disguise themselves as hostages to escape. Therefore, the police immediately took action. They controlled and interrogated the people who ran out of the bank until they learned from most people that the robbers had escaped. Yang Ming didn't make a move, but it didn't mean that he let the robbers go. After the robbers escaped, Yang Ming had been using his special ability to lock on the 3 robbers. However, what made Yang Ming helpless was that after the 3 escaped, they actually acted separately. Yang Ming's special ability wasn't multifaceted. He could only lock on the trajectory of a person's action. This was already difficult enough. He couldn't be distracted. Otherwise, even if he could see through things, the target would be mixed in the vast sea of people, and it would be difficult to find. It couldn't be helped. Yang Ming could only lock on the robber with the money bag. After the robber escaped a few kilometers, he put the money bag in a ditch. Then, he ran in the direction of the port alone. Near the port, he got on a speedboat and sailed to the sea. At this point, Yang Ming didn't need to continue to lock on. On the one hand, Yang Ming still had to observe whether the money in the ditch would be taken away by the person on the other hand, and on the other hand, he had to observe the robbers. It was really difficult. In the end, he had to give up on the robbers and lock his eyes on the bag of money in the ditch. From a normal point of view, if the robbers put the money here, there would definitely be other people on the inside who would take it. Therefore, as long as Yang Ming locked his eyes there, it was possible to find the robber's nest. Yang Ming and the other customers were taken to the Commercial Street Police Station to make a statement about the incident. Yang Ming weighed the pros and cons and decided to hand the matter over to the police. After all, this robbery had nothing to do with him. He didn't need to be a hero, so Yang Ming simply told the police what he knew and let them be responsible for the investigation. Yang Ming hesitated and took out the phone. He was going to call Chen Fei to talk about the incident. Although this case happened in the area of the branch, it would eventually be handed over to the criminal investigation team of the General Bureau, which was Chen Fei's responsibility. Sorry, you can't use the phone now. Yang Ming wanted to dial, but he was stopped by a police officer who was responsible for taking the statement. Yang Ming didn't dare to delay. What if the money was taken away at this time? Yang Ming pulled the police aside and said, "My girlfriend's father is Chen Fei of the Municipal Bureau. I want to call him." The police officer was stunned and glanced at Chen Mengyan, but he hesitated. After all, this case was of great importance. Although Yang Ming was only a witness, he couldn't take it lightly. Otherwise, no one could afford this responsibility, so he said, "Then you wait. I will ask for instructions." The police naturally asked for instructions from the branch bureau chief. This case had naturally been reported. When the branch bureau chief heard that Chen Fei's daughter and son-in-law were there, he hesitated and went personally. When he saw Yang Ming, he explained, "You don't have to make the call. I have already informed Captain Chen. He is on his way. I have an urgent matter. I can't delay even a minute." Although the other party was polite, Yang Ming was anxious at the moment, so his tone was tough. "That can't be helped. The matter is of great importance now. No matter who you are, you have to wait for the municipal bureau to come and take the statement before you can make a call." Although the branch bureau chief felt that Yang Ming wouldn't lie to him, he didn't dare to neglect. Yang Ming couldn't be helped. He frowned and had to take out the ID that Xia Bingbao gave him from his pocket. He handed it over and said, "You should recognize this ID, right? I really have an urgent matter." The branch bureau chief took a look at the ID handed over by Yang Ming and was shocked. Although he was surprised why Yang Ming was a member of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, the stamp and anti-counterfeiting mark on it couldn't be fake. He nodded and didn't say anything. Yang Ming called Chen Fei. When Chen Fei just answered, Yang Ming said, "Uncle Chen, the money is in the 3rd trench on Hulua Street. Send someone to watch there immediately." Yang Ming? Chen Fei was somewhat inexplicable. Chapter 1068. Yang Ming, what are you talking about? What money? Chen Fei suddenly received a call from Yang Ming. He was somewhat inexplicable. He didn't know what Yang Ming was referring to. "The bank, the money that was robbed," said Yang Ming. "How do you know?" Chen Fei suddenly felt a little strange. "Uncle Chen, Meng Yan and I were in the bank at that time, but as for how I know, I can't say," said Yang Ming. Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Chen Fei immediately thought of something. Although Xia Bingbao didn't say it clearly, he knew that Yang Ming had joined the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Yang Ming responded faintly. "Okay, I got it." Chen Fei didn't say anything more. Yang Ming was able to join the Supernatural Investigation Bureau because of his excellence, so it was not surprising that Yang Ming accurately said the location of the robbery. As for the statement, there is no need to do it. These customers should have nothing to do with the robbers. When the robbers came, Yang Ming also paid attention to every customer in the bank. At this time, these people were nervous. Everyone was thinking about how to escape and whether the robbers could hurt them. Yang Ming also saw it with his special ability. No one's thoughts were special, so he could conclude that these people were innocent. "Well, you give the phone to the person next to you who is handling the case," said Chen Fei. Yang Ming handed the phone to the bureau chief next to him. The bureau chief took the phone and listened to Chen Fei's words. Chen Fei didn't dare to delay. He directly rushed to Hulua Street that Yang Ming mentioned and secretly monitored the movement of the 3rd trench. As for Yang Ming's side, the bureau chief listened to Chen Fei's words and let these customers go back. The reason why Chen Fei dared to be so certain was also because of Yang Ming's other identity. The Supernatural Investigation Bureau had a great background and reputation. Being able to find Yang Ming was definitely not a fluke. There must be a reason behind it. However, these things were classified as confidential, so Chen Fei naturally did not ask too much. Seeing that Chen Fei had no objection to Yang Ming's words, it could be seen that there was no problem with Yang Ming's identity. After returning the ID to Yang Ming, the bureau chief's attitude was much better. He invited Yang Ming to sit in the office, but Yang Ming didn't have much time. After a few polite words, he left the police station with Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun. In the car, Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun breathed a sigh of relief. Chen Mengyan patted her chest and said, "I was scared to death just now. I was afraid that you would rush into this matter. I'm not a fool. If I can beat them, I can take care of it. If I can't beat them, isn't that just courting death?" Yang Ming said. The three people were holding guns. "I'm not invulnerable. How can I fight with them head-on?" When Yang Ming gave the bureau chief's ID and called Chen Fei, they were outside the recording room, so Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun didn't see these. Yang Ming didn't want to let Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun know about these things. However, these people acted very quickly. I don't know if they can solve the case. Chen Mengyan had heard a lot of serious cases from Chen Fei since she was a child. She also knew the difficulty of this robbery case. The robbers were very professional. As soon as they entered the door, they destroyed the monitoring system and killed a person in an orderly manner to warn the people in the bank not to act rashly. Then, they quickly evacuated after taking the money. Only the 2 English letters that were painted on the wall before leaving were somewhat inexplicable. If it wasn't a prank, then the robbers wanted to express something. Yang Ming also thought so. However, from the overall process of these robbers, there wasn't the slightest waste of time. Then, why did they leave 2 words before leaving? The possibility of a prank was relatively small because Yang Ming felt that these robbers weren't such boring people. Then, there was only one possibility left. These robbers wanted to express something through these 2 words. If SB didn't mean stupid, then it was possible that this group of robbers was like those terrorist organizations. After doing something bad, they wanted to leave a mark to claim that it was their organization's masterpiece. "Sister Lin, how are you?" Chen Mengyan's courage was still relatively big. It didn't take long for her to recover. She asked Lin Jiyun, who was still holding her hand tightly. "I'm fine. Fortunately, you and Yang Ming came together. Otherwise, I really don't know what to do," Lin Jiyun said with lingering fear. "Yang Ming, you jinxed it. You really got it right. Look at how scared Sister Lin is." Chen Mengyan complained to Yang Ming. "What does this have to do with me?" Yang Ming smiled bitterly. "I'm not a god. Whatever I say will happen. If so, I will say that all the beauties on earth are my wives." "You are really not serious." Chen Mengyan glared at Yang Ming. "Isn't it enough now?" "Just kidding." Yang Ming smiled. "The money hasn't been deposited. How about we find another bank?" "Well, I hope our luck won't be so bad this time," Chen Mengyan said. "However, fortunately, the robbers didn't take away the money in our hands. Otherwise, the bank can't be responsible for us if it hasn't been deposited in the bank." "Yeah, it's a blessing in disguise." Yang Ming said so, but his heart was puzzled again. Chen Mengyan's words reminded him. When the robbers rushed in, Lin Jiyun was opening the suitcase to take out the money. It was impossible for the robbers not to see it. Moreover, Lin Jiyun's suitcase had at least 300,000 yuan. It wasn't a small number. The money they robbed from the bank was only a few million yuan. What made Yang Ming feel a little inconceivable was that these people clearly saw the money in Lin Jiyun's hands, but they didn't take it away. What was the reason? The possibility of forgetting wasn't high. If one person forgot, then the other 2 people also forgot. This situation seemed unlikely, therefore, the remaining possibilities were that the first robber was dismissive of Lin Jian's money. The second was that the robber simply didn't have the consciousness to rob the money in Lin Jian's hands. Yang Ming had long felt that this group of people didn't look like professional bank robbers. Although their actions and marksmanship were very professional, it was more like they were doing a routine task. The purpose wasn't to rob the money. Perhaps they had other intentions. The first possibility shouldn't be the case. 300,000 yuan compared to 3 million yuan was naturally a little less, but it wasn't unworthy to rob. This was a simple matter for the robbers. Then, there was only the second possibility. The robbers didn't rob the bank for the money. As he thought of this, Yang Ming's heart was suddenly shocked. It's over. I was fooled. My attention had been on the bag of banknotes that the robbers took, and I ignored the robbers' whereabouts. If my suspicion is correct, the robbers didn't rob the bank for the money, then after they left the money, they shouldn't come back to get it. Yang Ming sighed helplessly. Perhaps this time Chen Fei wouldn't have any harvest. His subjective consciousness affected his judgment. He thought that since they were robbing the bank, then the purpose was naturally for the money. Since they hid the money, then there would definitely be someone who would go to get the money. However, this matter shouldn't be according to common sense, but there was something else. But now, it was useless to regret. Being able to find the lost money was already a great achievement for Chen Fei. As for catching the robbers, it was a matter for the future. According to the skills of these robbers, the possibility of catching them was minimal. He found a larger bank with police officers on duty. The security measures should be much better than the previous bank. This time, Yang Ming didn't dare to take the risk. He let Lin Jiyun and Chen Mengyan wait in the car. He carried the money box and walked into the bank alone. Even if he encountered a robber again, Yang Ming was only one person. He could adapt to the situation. Although he couldn't capture the robber alive, it was more than enough to protect himself. However, after Yang Ming received the number plate and completed the deposit, there were no accidents. After he successfully completed the business and left the bank, Yang Ming received a call from Chen Fei. Yang Ming, I have already surrounded Hurua Street and closely monitored the third sewer. Is there anything else? Chen Fei knew that Yang Ming's identity was different from the past, so he spoke with a semi-negotiating tone. Uncle Chen, I'm afraid that I have to disappoint you this time. Yang Ming sighed and said while standing outside the car. Yang Ming didn't immediately return to the car because he didn't want Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun to hear his conversation with Uncle Chen. What do you mean? Why are you disappointed? Chen Fei was stunned and asked, Is the money not here? The money is there. There is no mistake. During this period, Yang Ming had also been using his special ability to watch the vicinity of the sewer, so Yang Ming could be sure that the money was still inside. How can you be disappointed? Chen Fei listened to Yang Ming's words and was even more puzzled. The money is definitely inside, but I suspect that the purpose of the robber isn't money. Yang Ming didn't hide it and told Chen Fei his thoughts. There was also the fact that the robber didn't take away the 300,000 yuan in his hand. Chen Fei listened to Yang Ming's analysis and fell into contemplation for a while. Indeed, it was the first time he had seen such a robber. He had also seen the SNB photo at the scene, but Chen Fei didn't understand what it meant. In short, this group of robbers revealed a lot of mysterious auras. Yang Ming analyzed again, and Chen Fei also felt that the purpose of this group of robbers wasn't just to rob money. So, do you think that the robbers won't come back to get the money? Chen Fei asked after he figured it out. Yes, I don't think so. Although Yang Ming didn't dare to be 100% sure, he was pretty close to it. Well, I will take other actions, but the people here won't withdraw first. Chen Fei hesitated and said. And, then let's leave it at that, Uncle Chen. If I have any news here, I will contact you at any time. Yang Ming hung up the phone and got in the car. Who called you? Why did you talk for so long? Chen Mengyan asked curiously. Who else could it be? Your dad. Yang Ming spread his hands and said, he knew that we were in the bank at that time, so he called me to ask if there was any danger. Ah. Chen Mengyan listened and said, is it my dad? Why didn't he call me? He said that your phone couldn't be connected temporarily. Maybe there was no signal in the police station. Yang Ming casually found a reason to brush it off. I see. Chen Mengyan didn't doubt it. She nodded and didn't say anything. Because of such an incident, Lin Jian's mind was a little uneasy. She simply didn't go to the company. Anyway, the company had nothing to do these days. The main thing was to prepare the exhibits for the exhibition. Naturally, someone would deal with these things. Yang Ming drove directly back to the villa. Chen Mengyan hugged Lin Jiyun and slept peacefully. Yang Ming wanted to sleep together, but he was rejected by Chen Mengyan. Yang Ming didn't insist. He was very clear about what he was thinking. It was daytime now. Chen Mengyan wouldn't agree. There was still a possibility at night. Back to the room at the end of the corridor, Yang Ming opened the netbook. Yang Ming, who had experienced many life and death situations, didn't take the incident seriously. He even felt that it was ordinary and nothing special. What surprised Yang Ming was that Zhao Ying was actually online. Yang Ming quickly sent a smiley face emoji. What? I'm in class. Wild female teacher quickly replied. Yang Ming also wondered how Zhao Ying installed the broadband so quickly. It turned out that she was in school. How have you been recently? I haven't seen you online for a long time. Yang Ming naturally pretended that he still didn't know Zhao Ying and asked. Otherwise, if he confessed his identity, it was likely that Zhao Ying would directly blacklist him. I haven't installed the broadband yet after moving. My mood wasn't very good these days, so I didn't go online, said wild female teacher. How can you be in a bad mood after moving to a new house? Asked Yang Ming quickly. It's not because of moving to a new house. It's better not to move. Wild female teacher sent a crying emoji. What's going on? Tell me. Although Yang Ming knew it in his heart, he had to pretend that he didn't know. He is with my best friend. Wild female teacher hesitated for a moment and said. Although these things were personal concealment, the internet was illusory. Zhao Ying also told a lot of things about herself to this netizen. There's no true love in this world. So at this time, she naturally poured out her thoughts to him. Anyway, he didn't know who she was. He's with your best friend? How can it be? Asked Yang Ming quickly. How can it not be? I saw them holding hands with my own eyes. Can it be fake? Wild female teacher sent a tormented emoji. What you see with your own eyes may not necessarily be the truth. This is the reason why what you see may not necessarily be the truth. Yang Ming naturally excused himself. That's true. My friend also told me that she just wanted him to pretend to be her boyfriend to deceive her family because of some things in her family. Said wild female teacher. That's it. Your friend said that it's fake. What else do you have to worry about? Said Yang Ming. But I saw something by chance in the bathroom of her house. I also became uncertain. Said wild female teacher. Yang Ming's heart suddenly jumped. Sure enough, Zhao Ying really saw the half-used box of condoms in Wang Xiaoyan's bathroom cabinet. This was a bit difficult to handle. What is it? Yang Ming had to continue to ask. A box was opened. It was a condom that was partially used. Wild female teacher didn't hide it. This doesn't seem to represent anything. Maybe your friend is more perverted. She often meets some male netizens or something. Yang Ming thought, little girl Wang, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk about you. Now it's a special situation. You just have to bear with it. At most, I will let you go up next time. Impossible. I know her character. Wild female teacher flatly denied. Ugh. Since you know her character, do you still suspect that she stole your boyfriend? Yang Ming finally caught Zhao Ying's faulty wording and said quickly. I have some contradictions. In short, she isn't a casual person, but... Wild female teacher was somewhat incoherent. Maybe she used it when she touched herself with cucumbers and eggplants. Yang Ming thought lasciviously. Little girl Wang once said that it was more comfortable than her doing it herself. Then, what would it be like when she touched herself? Hee hee. It's so tempting, but Yang Ming's idea was unlikely because before that night, Wang Xiaoyan was still a virgin. Yang Ming could be sure of this. What nonsense are you talking about? Wild female teacher sent an angry and knife emoji. Hee hee, I just said it casually. It's just a scientific hypothesis. Yang Ming laughed twice and felt that he had gone too far. Don't make jokes. Otherwise, I will blacklist you. Wild female teacher warned. Well, I won't say it. Yang Ming was afraid that Zhao Ying would really lock him in a small black room in anger. That would be a bit fucked up. Without the internet, he really had no way to communicate with Zhao Ying. Then, what should I do now? Asked wild female teacher. If I were you, I would treat it as if nothing happened. Didn't you say it before? He has more than one woman, so it's okay to have one more. Yang Ming said and laughed. This is a good job to enlighten people. But, this is different. Said wild female teacher. What's the difference? I think it's almost the same. Yang Ming tried to persuade Zhao Ying in a way that was beneficial to himself. The time that she knew him wasn't as long as the time that I knew him. They were together first, and the relationship has developed to the most intimate step, but I haven't made any progress with him. I think, does he not like me at all? Wild female teacher finally spoke her mind. Yang Ming looked at Zhao Ying's worry. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He thought, if you weren't hesitant every time, we would have XXOO when we were in high school. This, love and the speed of pushing down has nothing to do with it. He didn't push you down, maybe because he respects you and feels more pity for you in his heart. Said Yang Ming. Is it? Wild female teacher was stunned and asked. Chapter 1069. Probably. Yang Ming sweated and didn't know how to answer. After all, the question involved himself. If Yang Ming answered too carefully, Zhao Ying might be suspicious of him, but he couldn't not answer, so he had to be vague. Then you mean, he doesn't dislike me? Wild female teacher continued to ask. According to my speculation, it should be like this. Of course, the specific situation needs specific analysis. Or, can you tell me again? Yang Ming certainly couldn't show that he knew everything. He gave me a gift before. It was a very ordinary handicraft. The appearance was very ordinary, but inside, after opening it, it was full of the process of our acquaintance. Wild female teacher said. Oh. He's quite romantic. Doesn't that prove that he likes you? If he doesn't like you, why would he write these things? He has nothing to do. Yang Ming began to boast. I thought so at the beginning, so I couldn't hold back the excitement in my heart. I added a few scenes that he left behind, and then I went to his house to find him. I didn't want to see the scene of them holding hands. Said wild female teacher. Damn, Yang Ming secretly said, it turns out that Zhao Ying has discovered the secret of the memory tree, and she is also preparing to return the memory tree to me. However, because of the small mistake of Wang Xiaoyan and myself, it led to so many disputes. Yang Ming could only sigh that his luck was not good, but fortunately, there was still a chance to remedy it online. Yang Ming could enlighten Zhao Ying on QQ, it's still the same sentence. What the eyes see is not necessarily the truth, and your friend also said that they are just pretending. Even if it is true, it's not a big deal. You don't care if he has other girlfriends. Why do you care about one more? Yang Ming said with a thick face. Although that is the case, I am afraid that he doesn't have me in his heart. Everything he does is just perfunctory to me. Wild female teacher said with some hesitation. However, I'm also a guy. I can tell you for sure that if I didn't like a girl, I wouldn't have spent so much effort to make a memory tree. Generally, boys don't have much patience. Since he can be patient enough to do this for you, he must be interested in you. Yang Ming was sure, because the person Zhao Ying was talking about was him, but Zhao Ying didn't know. Really? Wild female teacher quickly asked. Of course it's true. However, I feel that the most important question is you. What do you think? Yang Ming breathed a sigh of relief. He had finally entered the main topic. Now it was time to probe Zhao Ying's thoughts. As long as he followed her thoughts, he would receive miraculous results. Oh. I'm going to class. Let's talk next time. Wild female teacher sent a waving goodbye emoji. Yang Ming looked at the chat window in front of him helplessly. Just when he was talking about the key of the problem, Zhao Ying started class. Yang Ming said quickly, wait. You should tell me your thoughts first, I'm really going to class. Next time, bye-bye. After wild female teacher sent this message, her avatar turned gray. Yang Ming had to close the chat window resentfully. Isn't this too unlucky? My luck today is really terrible. In the first few days of school, the school's dormitory inspection was still relatively strict. However, Yang Ming's dormitory belonged to the privileged class. The school turned a blind eye to Tian Donghua, the young master. As for Yang Ming, basically, the counselors and secretaries in the department knew that he was the younger brother of the dean and the godson of the vice principal, Lu Weishan. Especially Yang Ming's excuse was very dignified. He went to accompany his godsister and godfather. No one could say anything about it. However, Chen Mengyan and Lin Jian's female dormitory were different. They were all ordinary dormitories. In order to eliminate the school's discipline, the school would be strict for a while at the beginning of every semester. The students who didn't stay in the dormitory at the beginning of the semester would be criticized. In particular, Chen Mengyan was the class monitor. Naturally, she had to set an example. Therefore, in the evening, after Chen Mengyan and Lin Jian woke up, they had to go back to the school's dormitory to live. Yang Ming naturally didn't have any meaning to live alone at home, so he also went back to school with Chen Mengyan and Lin Jian. When he walked to the door of the dormitory, he suddenly remembered that Tian Donghua's younger brother was here. Didn't I go out to avoid this guy? Unfortunately, Yang Ming pushed open the door of the school's dormitory and found that Tian Dongguang was sitting in the living room of the dormitory, talking with Tian Donghua and Zhang Bin. Yang Ming had already come back. If he left again, it would be a bit inappropriate. He had to say with a smile, "Isn't this Tian Dongguang? You are here?" Previously, when Yang Ming was in Donghai, he was misunderstood as Sun Jiwei. As a result, he had a fight with Tian Dongguang. After that, this guy knew about Yang Ming from Tian Donghua, and through Tian Donghua, he wanted to be Yang Ming's apprentice. Yang Ming naturally wouldn't agree and let Tian Donghua reject him directly. However, he didn't expect this kid to be unyielding. He didn't know where he got his phone number, but he kept calling him to express his intention to be Yang Ming's apprentice. Yang Ming finally had no choice but to set his phone number in the blacklist of the firewall of incoming calls. However, he didn't expect that Tian Dongguang would come to his door again. With his approach of coaxing and pestering, Yang Ming would agree sooner or later. This method of coaxing and pestering was naturally learned from Sun Jiwei. After Tian Dongguang was beaten by Yang Ming, he also knew that there was always someone better than him. Later, when he met the real Sun Jiwei, he didn't have so much hostility. Both of them were very conceited, but they became friends with similar temperaments. He heard that Sun Jiwei and Yang Ming were classmates, so Tian Dongguang got Yang Ming's phone number from him. Of course, Tian Dongguang knew that there seemed to be some conflict between Yang Ming and Sun Jiwei, so he didn't tell Sun Jiwei that he wanted to be Yang Ming's apprentice. Otherwise, with Sun Jiwei's character, he would definitely obstruct it. However, Tian Dongguang asked Sun Jiwei a question. That was, if he wanted to ask someone to promise him something, how could he do it? Sun Jiwei said without thinking about it. Coaxing and pestering. If you don't mind, you can ask him over and over again. There will always be a time when he will agree to it. Isn't there a good saying? If there is a will, there is a way. As long as there is perseverance, an iron rod can be ground into a needle. Sun Jiwei often liked something good, but he couldn't afford it, so he went to Sun Jia. Sometimes, Sun Jia couldn't help but agree to it. Tian Dongguang listened to Sun Jiwei's method and felt that it was very reasonable, so he began to call Yang Ming over and over again. He wanted to be apprenticed to him. Later, the phone couldn't be reached. At first, Tian Dongguang thought that there was a problem with Yang Ming's phone. However, during the Chinese New Year, he found that his brother, Tian Donghua, called Yang Ming smoothly. Then, Tian Dongguang went back to his room and dialed Yang Ming's phone. There was still a busy tone coming from the phone. Tian Dongguang knew that his phone was blocked by Yang Ming. In desperation, he thought of a new method. After school started, he would go to Tian Donghua's school on the grounds that he wanted to investigate the learning environment of Songjiang Industry University. Then, he would live in his brother's dormitory and become an apprentice to Yang Ming. Master, you're back. Tian Dongguang stood up and straightened his posture. He said respectfully in a dignified manner. Yang Ming suddenly sweated. Tian Dongguang. Welcome to Songjiang, but where is your master? I don't see anyone else, right? Yes, you are my master. Master, you don't want me anymore, right? Tian Dongguang said seriously as if there was such a thing. Tian Dongguang, you should have a lot of martial arts coaches at home, right? You can learn from them. Why do you have to bother me? Yang Ming sighed and said helplessly, I really don't have time to teach you anything. You see, I am so busy today, it's okay. You can just tell me the essentials. There is a good saying. The master leads the way, but the cultivation depends on the person. I can't learn it because I am stupid. I won't blame you, said Tian Dongguang. Let's not talk about this today. I'm a little tired. I'm going to sleep first. Yang Ming was really speechless. This Tian Dongguang is a bit too good at coaxing, right? Yang Ming fled back to his room, leaving only Zhang Bin and Tian Donghua snickering. Boss also has times when he is afraid, said Zhang Bin. Yang Ming is in trouble this time. Tian Dongguang, this kid, has been stubborn like a bull since he was a child. This time I think he won't give up until he gets what he wants. Tian Donghua also laughed. Tian Dongguang listened to the words of the two people and was even more confident. He said, I have decided to live here for a while. As time passed, Chen Fei's heart became heavier and heavier. Sure enough, as Yang Ming said, no accomplices of the robbers came here to get the money in the evening. 3:00 in the morning was the time for the cleaning workers to clean the ditch every day. If the accomplices of the robbers had not come before this time, then the matter could be confirmed. 1:00, 2:00, 3:00. Until the cleaning workers came here, there were still no accomplices of the robbers. There was not even a suspicious person nearby. The identity of the cleaning workers had been confirmed. There was nothing suspicious. They were the old cleaning workers who were responsible for the sanitation of this area all year round. Until the cleaning workers started to work and dug out the bag of money from the ditch, nothing else happened. Chen Fei had no choice but to take the money away. The others also left the team. However, in any case, to be able to quickly recover the stolen money a few hours after the crime, Chen Fei's contribution was really not small. As for the robbery and murder suspects, they couldn't be rushed. They could only search for them slowly. However, Yang Ming had a feeling that these people would not be easily caught by the police because the modus operandi of these people was too professional. In fact, this time, Yang Ming took the initiative to provide help in the case because of Chen Fei's position. Otherwise, Yang Ming would not easily make a move. Even Xia Bingbao had no right to ask Yang Ming to do anything. Yang Ming joined the Supernatural Investigation Bureau and helped Xia Bingbao because of Xia Shui's face. If it were not for wanting to earn more credit for this chick, Yang Ming would not bother with these other people's business. Admittedly, this was a bit selfish, but one should not meddle in politics if they were not in position. Yang Ming's original identity was a student, so other things were not his business except for going to school. This time, he made a move to help Chen Fei. Otherwise, when this case came out, Chen Fei would definitely be under a lot of pressure. Yang Ming could not let Chen Fei be in a difficult position. No matter what, Chen Fei was his father-in-law. Yang Ming would naturally do his best. However, as for the appearance of the robbers, Yang Ming did not need to tell Chen Fei. Except for Xia Bingbao, Yang Ming did not want others to know what his special ability was. If he said the appearance of those people, it was equivalent to indirectly admitting that he could see through things. But knowing the location of the stolen money was different. There were many ways. Even the sixth sense and astrology were possible. After the case, Song Jiang was calm overnight. There were no similar vicious incidents. The robbers seemed to have evaporated from the world and disappeared. However, only Yang Ming knew that these three people were probably no longer in Songjiang. It was even hard to say whether they were in the country. Early the next morning, Yang Ming was afraid that Tian Dongguang would continue to pester him. He did not wait for Tian Donghua and hurried to the classroom. He did not expect Zhou Jiejia to come earlier. As usual, she had already reserved a seat for him. In the past, Yang Ming was somewhat reluctant to sit next to Zhou Jiejia, but now, Yang Ming felt that it was normal. "How did you sleep last night?" Yang Ming sat down and asked, "Are you comfortable in the dormitory?" "How can I not be comfortable? Didn't I live here every day?" Zhou Jiejia was asked by Yang Ming. Suddenly, she association of the days when she lived in Yang Ming's house. She was a little embarrassed. "Hee, yeah, but after a few days, the school's investigation will be relaxed. Let's go home." Yang Ming smiled. "Then, let's talk about it when the time comes," Zhou Jiejia said with a red face. After all, she and Yang Ming were not as casual as Yang Ming and Chen Mengyan. When she talked about these things, she would blush. "How is your relationship with Wang Shui?" Yang Ming asked while Wang Shui got up to go to the bathroom. "It's okay. I'm fine with it, but Wang Shui always feels guilty to me." Zhou Jiejia sighed and said, "It is estimated that it will take some time to completely restore the original relationship." Yang Ming nodded. It was certain that Wang Shui felt guilty to Zhou Jiejia. However, this also showed that Wang Shui still had a conscience in her heart. If Wang Shui did not feel guilty at all, then this person was hopeless. The two were whispering, but when they saw that Wang Shui came back, they quickly stopped the topic. However, Tian Donghua and Tian Dongguang came in with Wang Shui. It was normal for Tian Donghua to come to Yang Ming's class every day. After all, he was dating Wang Shui. There was nothing to say about him coming to accompany Wang Shui. However, when Tian Dongguang came, Yang Ming couldn't help but be a little surprised. This kid was really slow, but because of the face of Tian Donghua and his father, Tian Long, Yang Ming couldn't do anything to him. The key was that this guy was like a gum. After being rejected, he was still indomitable. This was the real headache for Yang Ming. Fortunately, only 4 people could sit in a row in the classroom. Yang Ming, Zhou Jiejia, and Wang Shui occupied 3 seats. Tian Donghua couldn't let Tian Dongguang sit next to Wang Shui. Even if he sat here, he and Yang Ming were separated by 2 people. It was not very convenient to talk. Tian Dongguang didn't stay. He went straight to Sun Jiwei and sat with Sun Jiwei. Yang Ming found it strange that Tian Dongguang and Sun Jiwei were together, but he didn't ask much. After all, the relationship between the Sun family and the Tian family was good. Dongguang, your brother and Yang Ming have such a good relationship. Can you help me inquire about something? After class, Sun Jiwei asked tentatively. Inquire about something? Inquire about what? Tian Dongguang was a little puzzled. Help me inquire about how many girlfriends Yang Ming has, said Sun Jiwei. Inquire about how many girlfriends he has? Why are you inquiring about this? Do you have nothing to do? Tian Dongguang asked inexplicably. He didn't know why Sun Jiwei was inquiring about this. Of course, I have something to inquire about. How about it? Do you want to help? Asked Sun Jiwei. Wait, if you want me to help, you have to tell me clearly why you want me to inquire about this, right? Tian Dongguang was not a psychopath. If Sun Jiwei didn't make it clear, he wouldn't do such a boring thing. Then I will tell you the truth. Sun Jiwei rolled his eyes and said, My sister, do you know? She likes Yang Ming. She wants me to help secretly investigate and see how many women Yang Ming has outside. Your sister? Sun Jie? Her? Tian Dongguang was stunned. Sun Jie likes Yang Ming? The two people are several years apart. How is it possible? However, suddenly, when the association met with Yang Ming for the first time, Yang Ming drove Sun Jie's Audi R8. Sun Jie didn't allow men to touch her car. Tian Dongguang certainly knew about this. Otherwise, it was impossible to misunderstand that Yang Ming was Sun Jiwei. Thinking of this, Tian Dongguang also believed Sun Jiwei's words. At least, the relationship between Yang Ming and Sun Jie was definitely not simple. Yeah, it's my sister. You know, with my family situation, how can my uncle allow his son-in-law to have a woman outside? Sun Jiwei whispered, so, my sister asked me to investigate in advance. So it's like this. Tian Dongguang said this, but his heart snorted. He thought, what's wrong with Brother Yang? Brother Yang is much better than you. If it weren't for my father's strict restriction to let me be friends with you, I wouldn't bother to be friends with you. Chapter 1070. However, with his contact with Sun Jiwei, Tian Dongguang discovered that although Sun Jiwei was very proud, he was also very naive. He had no bad thoughts. The things that he did were things that some children could do. In a more popular phrase, it was the kindergarten level. How about it? Can you help? Asked Sun Jiwei. Then I can't say. I can only try. Tian Dongguang said, I can't inquire about this kind of private thing, right? That's also true. Sun Jiwei did not press. You should pay more attention to it. According to your own observation, you should observe as much as you can. Okay, I'll see what I can do. Tian Dongguang said. Although he said so, Tian Dongguang must tell Yang Ming about this somewhat strange thing. How could he let go of such a good opportunity to curry favor? He was worried about how to get close to Yang Ming. Although the Tian family was a vassal of the Sun family, Tian Dongguang also understood that if Sun Jie really had a relationship with Yang Ming, then the person who had the final say in the Sun family would still be Yang Ming, not Sun Jiwei. Therefore, pleasing Yang Ming was the right thing to do. Sun Jiwei didn't listen much in this class. He had been playing with his mobile phone. Of course, he set the mobile phone to the photo mode and pointed it in the direction of Yang Ming. As long as he lowered his head to talk to Zhou Jiejie, Sun Jiwei would take a picture. Regardless of whether they had a relationship or not, he would take some intimate photos first. In the past few days, Yang Ming was entangled by Tian Dongguang except for flirting with Zhou Jiejie in class during the day. Yang Ming had no choice but to promise him that he would give him some advice when he was free. He would forget about master's matter. However, even so, Tian Dongguang was already very satisfied. Did everything have to be done step by step? Now it was just giving some advice. If he gave more advice, he would naturally be master. Tian Dongguang also told Yang Ming what Sun Jiwei asked him to do. Yang Ming naturally laughed it off after listening. Sun Jie would definitely not be so bored as to send Sun Jiwei to inquire about how many girlfriends he had. With Sun Jie's character, if she wanted to mess things up, she would definitely do it herself. Therefore, this matter was most likely what Sun Jiwei wanted to do. He just used Sun Jie as an excuse. If he wanted to play any tricks, then so be it. Yang Ming would not be afraid of him. Therefore, Sun Jiwei's harvest these days was not small. He took many ambiguous photos of Yang Ming, Zhou Jiejia, Lin Jiyun, and Chen Mengyan. It was impossible for Yang Ming to not notice it, but he let it be. Yang Ming was not afraid of his relationship with a few girls being exposed, especially when Chen Mengyan had acquiesced to the existence of Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jiejia. Yang Ming was not afraid of anything. On Saturday afternoon, Sun Jiwei came to his cousin Sun Jie's company happily. Of course, he could also find Sun Jie in school, but there were too many outsiders. Some words were not easy to say. When Sun Jiwei came to Sun Jie's office, Sun Jie was talking to the people in the company about a document. When she saw Sun Jiwei come in, she was a bit puzzled. Jiwei, what are you doing here? Big sister, I am here. Naturally, there is an important thing, said Sun Jiwei. What is it? Say it quickly. I have a meeting in a while. Sun Jie didn't think that Sun Jiwei would have anything good to find her. If he was not short of money, he would want her to help him buy some luxury goods. Let's wait for a while when there is no one. Sun Jiwei glanced at the company's employees in Sun Jie's office and said mysteriously. Sun Jie frowned and said helplessly, well, you can go out first. Inform all the middle-level cadres in the company that we will have a meeting in the conference room in 10 minutes. Okay, Miss Sunday, the people in the company nodded and went out. Well, what is it? Say it quickly. Sun Jie asked. Sun Jiwei went to close the office door first, then looked around. Then, he carefully took out a stack of photos from his backpack and put them on Sun Jie's desk. Big sister, look at these photos. What photos? Sun Jie inexplicably picked up the photos that Sun Jiwei put on the table and looked at them. When she looked at a few photos, she suddenly frowned. Where did you get these photos? Why are you showing them to me? I spent a lot of effort to follow and take these photos. Sun Jiwei said as if he was taking credit, I heard that uncle is very fond of this Yang Ming. He wants to marry big sister to him. When I heard the news, I was in a hurry. How can this be? This Yang Ming's character is very bad. I followed him, and sure enough, you see, this guy is a playboy. He has so many girlfriends outside. I really didn't know if I didn't see it. I was shocked when I saw it. You followed him? Sun Jie listened to Sun Jiwei's words, and her face immediately sank. However, Sun Jiwei was in high spirits. He didn't care about Sun Jie's expression. He smiled proudly. Yes, I took it. Big sister, how are you going to thank me? I am a great contributor. Otherwise, you would be deceived by this guy, Yang Ming. My request is not high. Canon has a new SLR camera. It is only more than 20,000 yuan. It is not too expensive with a few lenses. The total is just more than 100,000 yuan. Pa. With a sound, Sun Jie threw the photos on Sun Jiwei's face. Sun Jiwei was suddenly inexplicable. Big sister, what are you doing? What am I doing? Sun Jie slammed the table and said with a sullen face, I bought a camera for you. You continue to take photos for me, right? Yes. No. Sun Jiwei saw that Sun Jie's face wasn't good. He was scared and shook his head quickly, but he didn't know how he offended her. Yang Ming's matter, you don't have to care about it in the future. Sun Jia glared at Sun Jiwei and said, otherwise, you won't have any pocket money in the future. Ah. Sun Jiwei was shocked when he heard Sun Jia's words. If he didn't have pocket money in the future, how could he live? Did you hear it? Sun Jia asked. I heard it. Sun Jiwei said with grievance, I don't care. What about the camera? Let's talk about the camera later. Sun Jia was in a bad mood. Although she was angry with Sun Jiwei for being a busybody, on the other hand, she was really annoyed with Yang Ming. This guy really had too many women. If she didn't have strict requirements for him, who knows what would happen in the future? Oh. Sun Jiwei didn't dare to say more. He had to walk out of Sun Jia's office with regret in his heart. If I knew, I wouldn't care about this. Yang Ming wasn't a good person to provoke. I took a photo of him. How much risk did I have to take? I heard that the guy was a violent maniac. Not long after he entered the school, he beat the president of the Taekwondo club. Several times, I was almost found out by Yang Ming. Sun Jiwei thought with lingering fear. In fact, Yang Ming had already found out about Sun Jiwei, but he didn't want to talk to him. Although he didn't know why Sun Jia was so angry, Sun Jiwei didn't dare to mention this again. He didn't want to lose his New Year's money. Sun Jiwei wasn't a scheming person. After returning to school, he told Tian Dongguang about this matter. Of course, he also complained to Tian Dongguang. If he didn't keep it in his heart, he was really unhappy. The action that he had planned for a long time actually failed all of a sudden. It was super bad luck. Sun Jiwei didn't understand where his mistake was. He wanted to find Tian Dongguang to analyze it. Dongguang, you tell me. What the hell is going on? I don't think I did anything wrong. Sun Jiwei asked in confusion. Although Sun Jiwei was already 20 years old, he wasn't very interested in emotional matters, so he couldn't understand the feeling between lovers. I don't know. Maybe they don't want us to be involved in adult matters? Tian Dongguang said this, but he was laughing in his heart. He thought, you deserve it. You went to report Brother Yang. Aren't you finished? Are you hurt? Adult matters? Sun Jiwei thought with some anger. Yang Ming is considered an adult? When Tian Dongguang told Yang Ming these things, Yang Ming suddenly laughed. Sun Jia was very clear about what she was like. If Sun Jiwei said it, it would only make Sun Jia angrier. The China Jewelry Association sent a notice that the jewelry exhibition would be held on time at the end of next week. After receiving the notice, Bao Sanli still called Yang Ming. Although he and Yang Ming had the final say in the company, the final decision was still made by Yang Ming. Yang Ming also attached great importance to this jewelry exhibition. After all, this was the largest business that the Ming-Yang Security Company had received since its establishment. It was also the most influential business. If the security work was done well, then the reputation of the Ming-Yang Security Company would be established. After all, the underworld business was only a temporary stepping stone. It would eventually be abandoned. The ultimate goal of the Ming-Yang Security Company was to become stronger and provide security work for some large-scale activities. Therefore, for the first time, Yang Ming still attached great importance to it. After receiving a call from Bao Sanli, he rushed to the Ming-Yang Security Company. In the small conference room of the company, only Bao Sanli, Ho Junhan, and Yang Ming were sitting. This is the official contract sent by the China Jewelry Association. President Ho and I don't dare to make a decision in private. We would like to invite you to discuss it. Bao Sanli handed a contract to Yang Ming. Has our lawyer seen it? Yang Ming took the contract and asked. The lawyer has already seen it. Ho Junhan nodded. There is no problem with the contract itself. There are no traps or loopholes, but the responsibility we bear is relatively large. Oh. Yang Ming picked up the contract and looked at it. As long as the contract itself had no problems, then other things were easy to discuss. The contract was written in detail, but it also gave a lot of authority to the Ming Yang Security Company, including the booth arrangement. Except for a few fixed large merchants, the Ming Yang Security Company's brother company, Ming Yang Entertainment, was responsible for it. However, the greater the authority, the greater the responsibility. Many of the jewelry in this exhibition had a single value of more than 100 million. There were even a few treasures of the 15th century European royal family. They were even more valuable. Although they had not been auctioned, their estimated value had exceeded $5 billion. If there was any accident, and the jewelry was lost, the Ming Yang Security Company would bear the complete loss. So expensive? Yang Ming looked at the contract copy with some astonishment. It was about the valuation of the main jewelry in the exhibition. Yeah, so President Ho and I don't dare to make a decision privately. After all, this is not a small matter. Bao Sanli nodded solemnly. If there is really an accident, we can't afford this loss. Yang Ming looked at the contract and frowned. Is it not insured with an insurance company? The number is too large. No insurance company is willing to insure this batch of jewelry. Bao Sanli shook his head and said helplessly. I see. Yang Ming also fell into contemplation. What about the previous jewelry exhibitions? How were they held? The previous jewelry exhibitions were not held in Songjiang, but there was no such expensive jewelry in the exhibition. The most expensive jewelry was only $100 million. The insurance company would cover the insurance. Ho Zhenhan shook his head and said, it is the first time that such expensive jewelry is in the exhibition. Yang Ming listened to Ho Zhenhan's words and suddenly felt that something was wrong. However, Yang Ming was not very clear about what was wrong. At this moment, Yang Ming was really in a dilemma. The previous jewelry exhibitions were very smooth, so the Ming Yang Security Company would accept this task without any hesitation. But now, after the details of the jewelry in the exhibition were sent, it was somewhat difficult to back down. Although the formal contract had not been signed, if he refused to sign it now, he would only bear a few tens of thousands of yuan of breach of contract fee. However, the reputation of the Ming Yang Security Company would be greatly affected. If he backed down halfway after accepting the task, he would become a laughingstock for many people. This was definitely not what Yang Ming wanted to see. Although the Ming Yang Security Company was not the focus of Yang Ming's business, it was also an indispensable part of it. Yang Ming would not allow the Ming Yang Security Company, which had just improved its business, to have its reputation tarnished. However, if he accepted this task, the risk he would take would be too big. Although Yang Ming had some money in his hands, he couldn't do this. Therefore, for a time, Yang Ming was really in a dilemma. He didn't know what to do. Brother Yang, why don't we just forget about it? Don't accept this task. Ho Zhenhan saw that Yang Ming was in a dilemma, so he spoke for Yang Ming. Bao Sanli also nodded silently at the side. Although he was also unwilling, it would be fine if there was no accident. If there was an accident, the company's losses would be too great. Not only would they go bankrupt, but they would also be in debt. Yang Ming lit a cigarette and put it in his mouth. Yang Ming, who rarely smoked, would only smoke when he was really worried. Bao Sanli and Ho Zhenhan didn't dare to disturb Yang Ming. They sat quietly and waited for Yang Ming to make a decision. There was something fishy about this matter from the very beginning. Yang Ming was no longer the Amon of the past. His insight and judgment had improved greatly. First of all, the organizer had delegated too much power to Ming Yang. It seemed that everything was handed over to Ming Yang. The organizer was only a nominal manager. In fact, Ming Yang was responsible for the entire operation of the exhibition. This itself was somewhat unusual. How could the Jewelry Association give these important things to an unfamiliar company to do? Wasn't the organizer afraid that Ming Yang would screw up the exhibition? Secondly, even if the Jewelry Association delegated power on a whim, why would it be held in Songjiang? Songjiang was not a municipality directly under the central government, and it was not a provincial capital. It was just a second-class city. It did not have any commercial strategic significance. If there was anything special about Songjiang, it could only be said that Songjiang was the first place where the big star, Shuya, held a concert. This jewelry association wouldn't want to imitate Shuya, right? Then, the most important point was that in every jewelry exhibition, there were no priceless jewelry, but this time, there were a few more. What the hell was going on? Could it be that the Jewelry Association was also afraid that there would be some accidents at the exhibition, so they completely delegated power to the Mingyang Jewelry Company and let the Mingyang Jewelry Company take full responsibility? This was also the most likely possibility. Now, Yang Ming could only think of this. Because Yang Ming himself didn't know about this kind of exhibition, now it was his first time coming into contact with it. However, in any case, if the Mingyang Company gave up this order this time, then its reputation would definitely be greatly affected. Yang Ming hesitated again and again. He gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, I will accept it. Just be careful. I will let Li Chang's people come over as well. No accidents are allowed." When Bao Sanli and Ho Zhenhan heard that Li Chang would also come over, they were relieved. After all, Li Chang was professionally trained. He was much better than the people in the security company. Since Yang Ming made the decision, then Bao Sanli and Ho Zhenhan didn't say anything. They just had to focus on dealing with it. After Yang Ming left, Bao Sanli and Ho Zhenhan began the intensive deployment, including the monitoring of the venue, the installation of cameras, the arrangement of personnel, and so on. The reason why Yang Ming finally agreed to this order was that if there was really any accident, the money in his hands was enough to compensate. It would not make the Mingyang Company bankrupt. He believed that if there was really an accident, he could fully compensate for the payment. It was also a kind of affirmation to the credibility of the Mingyang Security Company. It would let the outside world see that even if the Mingyang Security Company failed, they would not renege on the debt. However, the risk involved in this matter was too great. After leaving the Mingyang Security Company, Ong Ming called Li Chang and informed him to cooperate with Bao Sanli and Ho Zhenhan to do a good job at this jewelry exhibition. For those things that he couldn't understand, Yang Ming suddenly thought of a person, Sun Jie. This little fox saw the things in the business world more thoroughly than him. She also understood the conspiracy better than him, so Yang Ming decided to consult Sun Jie to see if she had any good opinions. Thinking of this, Yang Ming didn't dare to delay. He drove directly to Sun Jie's company. Chapter 1071. When Yang Ming encountered a problem, the first person he thought of would be Sun Jie. In any case, among the few women around him, Sun Jie couldn't be said to be the smartest, but she was the most cunning. Chen Mengyan and Lin Jian were still young, and Xiao Qing's character made her unable to play some tricks. Wang Xiaoyan was more of an overbearing plot. Therefore, the only person who could be discussed was Sun Jie. However, this was also good. Yang Ming didn't want the women around him to be all schemers. If that was the case, he couldn't stay at home. Each of them played tricks on each other. Wouldn't he be annoyed to death if he was sandwiched in the middle? Yang Ming had come to Sun Jie's company more than once or twice. Sun Jie's secretary had already known Yang Ming. She didn't ask much and let him come to Sun Jie's office. Yang Ming knocked on the door and heard Sun Jie's voice, "Please come in." Yang Ming pushed the door open, walked in, and closed the office door. Maybe he used a little force when he closed the door, so the sound was relatively loud. Sun Jie suddenly frowned and looked up. Just as she was about to reprimand him, she saw that it was Yang Ming. She was suddenly stunned. "Yang Ming? Why are you here? Why can't I come? I miss you, so I came to see you," Yang Ming said shamelessly. Sun Jie glanced at Yang Ming faintly. Apparently, she didn't believe Yang Ming's nonsense. You keep these words to deceive those little girls. Do you think I will believe it? Yang Ming laughed twice. Sun Jia was rational in most cases. She wouldn't be disturbed by external things. If you have something to say, just say it. Don't you feel uncomfortable holding it there? Sun Jia saw Yang Ming's embarrassment and said with a smile. Ugh, you can see this. Although I am a pervert, I am not in a hurry. I can still hold it in your office. Let's do it at home at night. Yang Ming said seriously, although this is very uncomfortable, I have always been an upright person. Don't tempt me. Sun Jia listened to Yang Ming's nonsense and was a little dumbfounded. She glared at him and said, that's fine. Then let's talk about it at night. I am going to the company's meeting. After that, Sun Jia was about to stand up. Yang Ming hadn't found a good way to deal with Sun Jia, so he kept losing. He wanted to joke with her, but now, he didn't expect that it was his own foot. Seeing that Sun Jia was about to stand up, Yang Ming had to say, well, then I will say it. Sun Jia smiled slightly and leaned leisurely on the boss's chair. She raised her right leg and put it on top of her left leg. It looked very seductive, but Yang Ming didn't dare to joke anymore. Who knew what the consequences would be? Yang Ming sat on the sofa and looked at Sun Jia. He said flatteringly, dear, I have something to discuss with you. When she heard Yang Ming call her dear, Sun Jia snorted with some disdain, but she didn't say anything. She sat there quietly and nodded slightly, signaling Yang Ming to continue. Next weekend, there is a business alliance of the China Jewelry Association that is going to hold an international jewelry exhibition in Songjiang. Yang Ming put away his previous joking expression and said seriously, the security work of this international jewelry exhibition is handled by the Mingyang Security Company. Your company, right? Sun Jia knew the identity of Yang Ming, so naturally, she could also guess that the behind-the-scenes boss of the Mingyang Security Company was actually Yang Ming. Yang Ming nodded and continued, this is the first large-scale event security task undertaken by the Mingyang Security Company. If it is completed perfectly, the company's name can be spread. Is there a problem? Sun Jia nodded in agreement. Your idea is right. Of course, there is a problem. If there is no problem, I will. Yang Ming said with a bitter smile. If there is no problem, you won't come to me, right? Sun Jia took over Yang Ming's words and looked at Yang Ming with a smile. Yang Ming broke into a sweat. He didn't expect Sun Jia to catch his faulty wording. He just wanted to say this, but fortunately, Sun Jia interrupted his words, giving him room to maneuver. So, Yang Ming quickly changed his words. Of course not. I mean, if there is no problem, I won't be so troubled. I can have a threesome with you. Sun Jia listened to Yang Ming's words and didn't know whether to be angry or not. She rolled her eyes at him and said, let's talk business. Oh. Yang Ming saw that Sun Jia was really unhappy, so he quickly said, the problem is that in this jewelry exhibition, the price of the jewelry displayed is priceless. Moreover, the Jewelry Association's authorization to Mingyang is simply too big. Almost everything is delegated to Mingyang. Yang Ming told all his previous worries to Sun Jia. After listening to Yang Ming's words, Sun Jia also fell into contemplation. Indeed, there was nothing unusual about the exhibition, but this year's exhibition was somewhat unusual, both in terms of management and the items displayed. There is indeed a problem. Sun Jia raised her eyebrows and looked up at Yang Ming. Your worries are not unreasonable. Not bad. You are not the kind of man with a simple mind. Yang Ming was a little dumbfounded by this evaluation. Am I a guy who only knows how to act recklessly in your eyes? Sun Jia covered her mouth and smiled, but she didn't answer. Yang Ming had to continue, I also know that there is a problem, but what is the problem? The problem is nothing more than the following. Sun Jia moved her body and changed herself into a more comfortable position. However, in this way, the waves on her chest were more magnificent, making Yang Ming's eyes unable to move away. Seeing Yang Ming staring at her chest, Sun Jia coughed and said, "Do you want to listen?" "Listen, but don't listen with your eyes. Just use your ears. It won't affect you." Yang Ming did not have the slightest intention of shifting his gaze. Sun Jia was helpless. However, if Yang Ming could be serious, then he would not be Yang Ming. Instead, she was accustomed to the current Yang Ming, so she let him continue to look. "Do you want me to unbutton and show you?" "No need. Let's do it at night." Yang Ming replied seriously, "After all, this is the office. It is not good to let others see their manager striptease." Sun Jia really had the impulse to strangle Yang Ming. Does this guy deserve a beating? How can he say this kind of thing? It's just a joke. Yang Ming saw that Sun Jia's face was really unhappy, so he put away his previous lecherous expression. "It's not like I haven't seen it before." Okay, you can say it," Yang Ming thought. "If I really want to see it, do I need you to take off your clothes? I can just use X-ray vision." Hee. First, that is, the China Jewelry Association has long known about this exhibition. There are valuable jewelry exhibited, so they don't want to take responsibility, so they give the power to your Ming Yang. In this way, once there is a problem, it is also related to the Jewelry Association. This is also what you think. However, I don't think the possibility is very high. Second, that is, someone wants to steal. They want to trick you by exhibiting this valuable jewelry. After sending someone to steal it, they will say that it is lost. Your Ming Yang will bear the loss. Whether the Jewelry Association wants to steal, or the Jewelry Association has gotten wind that someone wants to do this, they will give the power to a third party and draw a clear line with them. This possibility is higher, and I think it is the most likely one. Third, someone is not in good terms with your company. They want to take the opportunity to make trouble and mess up the jewelry exhibition, so Ming Yang's reputation will naturally be implicated. But the possibility of this is not very high. After all, it is very troublesome to bribe the Jewelry Association to do such a thing. Sun Jia slowly said her thoughts. Yang Ming listened to Sun Jia's detailed analysis and couldn't help but be shocked. Although he also thought of the first point, he didn't think of the second and third points. Although Yang Ming's thinking was more mature than in high school, after all, he was a novice in business. He was not as experienced as Sun Jia. If it was like Sun Jia's analysis, then Ming Yang's security was really in trouble. Stealing is the most difficult thing to prevent. Although I can vigorously send more people, I can't stop the internal people of the Jewelry Association or the relevant exhibitors from tampering with it. Then, of these 3 points, which one is more likely? Asked Yang Ming. In fact, these 3 points can be reduced to 1 point. Sun Jia said slowly, that is, someone has a hatred with your company and wants to take the opportunity to harm you. This can be seen from the jewelry exhibition being held in Songjiang. It is true that, as you said, Songjiang is not a big city. First, it is not a municipality directly under the central government. Second, it is not a provincial capital. Third, it is not even a tourist city. Why would the China Jewelry Association hold the exhibition here? There is a problem in itself. So, according to my guess, someone spent money to bribe the internal personnel of the China Jewelry Association set the location of the jewelry exhibition in Songjiang. Currently, only Ming Yang Security can undertake the security work of such a large-scale event in Songjiang. Therefore, this heavy burden will naturally fall on Ming Yang Security. As for the specifics of how to harm you, according to my guess, the most direct and easiest way is to embezzle and lose the precious jewelry. Then, I will look for you to compensate. If you can't afford it, not only will Ming Yang Security's reputation plummet, but you will also have a huge debt on your back. Even if you can afford it, you will go bankrupt and lose a lot of vitality. So, the Jewelry Association knows this, so they will give Ming Yang heavy industry power because they don't want to take responsibility. These are the first, second, and third points of my analysis. They can be combined into one point. In this way, the purpose of the other party is very obvious. Yang Ming didn't expect Sun Jie's thinking to be so meticulous. She could speculate the intentions of the other party in such a short time. Moreover, after Sun Jie's analysis, the truth of the matter was basically close to the truth. I see. Yang Ming nodded and said sincerely, "Dear little Jie, thank you. You are really amazing." Sun Jie saw Yang Ming's rare humility, and she couldn't help but smile proudly. "Humph, it's good that you know. Don't play any tricks in front of me in the future. Pretend to be someone else to chat with me. It's best not to do this kind of stupid thing." Yang Ming gave a hollow laugh and scratched his head. Only Sun Jie could guess his identity from a slight flaw. Otherwise, Zhao Ying and I have chatted online for so long, but she still doesn't know my true identity, right? Since we have guessed the intentions of the other party, what should we do? Yang Ming now, even if he roughly knew the intentions of the other party, he still didn't have a good way to deal with it. After all, Yang Ming had never encountered a similar situation. "What us? Does it have anything to do with me?" asked Sun Jie. "Of course, I am your husband. If I get into trouble and lose money, the wife has to pay for the husband's debt," said Yang Ming. "It seems that you have a lot of wives, right? There are so many of them. They can work together to pay for your debts," Sun Jie said as she snorted. "Ugh, they don't have as much money as you." Yang Ming smiled. "So, you will definitely be the one to pay." Sun Jie rolled her eyes. Apparently, she didn't believe Yang Ming's words at all. "It's up to you how to deal with it. If you are afraid, just reject it. Anyway, it hasn't been held yet. It's not a big deal if you break the contract. At most, you can pay him a fee for breaking the contract. I can't be afraid of choking and not drinking water, right?" Yang Ming said with a wry smile, "All of this is our guess. Can you push it off a second time after pushing it off once? The company can't stop doing business forever, right? Since you have decided, why are you still asking me?" Sun Jie chuckled. "If they don't do anything, then there is no problem. If it is really like what I guessed, you..." As Sun Jie said this, she made a throat-cutting gesture with her hand. "Kill people?" Yang Ming was stunned. He didn't expect Sun Jie to be a smiling tiger who could decide the life and death of others. She was comparable to Wang Xiaoyan. If they steal what they are supposed to protect, then you take advantage of them. Sun Jie said faintly, "Of course, you don't have to kill people unless it is a last resort. You caught their people, and you have their weakness in your hands. Naturally, you have the capital to negotiate with them. If they steal what they are supposed to protect and ask you to compensate them, this already constitutes fraud. If you really make a big deal out of it, it will only be bad for them, so you can take the opportunity to blackmail them." After Yang Ming listened to Sun Jie's words, he secretly clicked his tongue. "This chick looks like she has a big chest and no brain, but in fact, she is more black-hearted than me. She can even think of this method. As long as the monitoring is tight, it should be no problem to find out the person who stole the jewelry, right?" Sun Jie glanced at Yang Ming and said, "If this can't be done well, then you let me down too much. If it were you, you may not have 100% certainty, right?" Yang Ming couldn't help but smile bitterly after listening. Although Yang Ming's power in Songjiang was great, he couldn't guarantee it with 100% certainty. Unless he used his special ability to explore the situation of the exhibition 24 hours a day, it could only be like this. "If my man is worse than me, why would I look for him?" Sun Jie shrugged and said, "This is also a test of your ability. If you fail, don't even think about having a 3P or a 4P in the future. You won't even have a 2P." Yang Ming sweated after listening. This Sun Jie is more fierce than me. I can only think about having a 3p at most, but she even dares to think about having a 4p. She is too invincible. It seems that I have to work harder. Otherwise, the consequence is that this little fox also said that I won't even have a 2p. Yang Ming believed that Sun Jia would do what she said. With Sun Jia's strong personality, she definitely wouldn't allow her man to be a waste. Yang Ming could understand this point. She grew up in a strong family. She was also very strong, so it was impossible for her to accept a man who was worse than her. Then you just wash up and wait for me, Yang Ming said in his heart. This time, even if I have to risk my life, I have to do this thing perfectly. Anyone can talk big. Sun Jia said disdainfully, I hope the facts are also like this. Although Sun Jia's tone was very understated, she still had some expectations in her heart. Yang Ming could establish a huge force in the two cities of Songjiang and Jiduan with his own strength. It had to be said that Yang Ming still had the ability. Although Jiduan and Songjiang were not as big as Donghai, her father had spent more than 10 or 20 years in Donghai. Yang Ming only took less than a year. Even if there was a fluke factor in it, it was also Yang Ming's ability. Otherwise, it wasn't luck that could solve the problem. The reason why she said a lot to Yang Ming before was that she didn't want Yang Ming to fail. Then let's wait and see. Yang Ming said, not to be outdone, then I will go back first. I will look for you in the evening. There is a social engagement in the evening. Sun Jia looked at the schedule and said. Social engagement? I will go with you. Yang Ming said shamelessly, as a boyfriend, I have to show up occasionally. Okay. Sun Jia nodded readily. Tonight's dinner was with a few of her business sisters. Their personal relationship was relatively good. It was not a problem to bring Yang Ming along. Yang Ming was stunned. He didn't expect Sun Jia to agree so readily. He thought she would refuse. Why? You don't want to go? Sun Jia saw Yang Ming's stunned look and asked with some amusement. Of course, I will go. Then, I will see you in the evening. Yang Ming said, I will pick you up in the evening. 6 o'clock. Wait for me downstairs at the company at 6 o'clock. Sun Jia nodded and said. Then I will go back first. I will go back in the afternoon to check the information of previous year's jewelry exhibitions. After Yang Ming finished, he was ready to get up and leave. Wait. Sun Jia looked up and waved to Yang Ming. Is there anything else? Do you want to give me a goodbye hug? Yang Ming turned around and was about to go forward. Hug your head. Sun Jia glared at Yang Ming and took out a stack of photos from the drawer. She threw them on the table and said, Your photos. Take them back as a souvenir. I don't have the space here. Yang Ming was puzzled as he picked up the photos on the table. At first glance, he knew that they were the photos that Sun Jiwei took of him and other girls. He was suddenly embarrassed. But now, listening to Zhang Jishan, it seemed that Elder Yu was really difficult to deal with. What kind of evil art did Elder Yu practice? Listening to what Chen Afu said, it should be close to the truth. Only the refining of demonic goo requires the corpse of a recently dead person, but this kind of evil voodoo is forbidden by our clan. Zhang Jishan said, I don't know about other clans, but in our clan, if anyone secretly practices this voodoo, they will become everyone's enemy. Yang Ming nodded. It seemed that this Elder Yu couldn't be easily dealt with. Then, this kind of problem should be left to Lan Ling's grandmother. However, after experiencing yesterday's incident, Yang Ming realized that as an assassin, it was very shameful to not have any self-defense tricks. If he had something like a hidden weapon in his hand yesterday, then he could have the strength to fight with the three people. Therefore, Yang Ming was going to ask Zhang Jishan to see if he had a better hidden weapon. Ordinary hidden weapons such as darts, Yang Ming really disdained to use them. It wasn't that Yang Ming was arrogant, but the use of darts was really no different from ordinary knives and forks. Even 1 yuan coins or game coins in the game hall could achieve the same goal. Do you have any research on hidden weapons? Entering the house, Yang Ming led Zhang Jishan to his own room and asked. Hidden weapons? Zhang Jishan shook his head blankly and said, I'm not a martial arts master. How can I use hidden weapons? After Yang Ming heard Zhang Jishan's words, he could only smile helplessly. Thinking about it, Zhang Jishan was a master of voodoo, not a master of hidden weapons. Asking him these things was tantamount to asking for nothing. Well, even if we are just casually talking, what do you think is a better hidden weapon for killing people? Yang Ming could only ask from another angle. Of course, Yang Ming also asked this same question to Fang Tian. As a result, Fang Tian's answer was that anything could be used to kill people. This answer made Yang Ming very speechless, but he couldn't help it because for Fang Tian, it was indeed so. Bringing a hidden weapon out would be a burden. Although Yang Ming didn't reach the level of Fang Tian, he wasn't far from it. It was just that in some special circumstances, he couldn't find anything to use as a hidden weapon. I think it should be needles. Zhang Jishan thought about it and said, I saw in the Return of the Condor Heroes, Xiao Longnu used bee needles as a hidden weapon. It was quite cool. Ugh. Yang Ming sweated a bit and said, needles are fine. I saw a news report before that there was a person who could use embroidery needles to penetrate glass. Right, speaking of needles, I thought of a substance. Zhang Jishan suddenly thought of something and said, in our Miaojiang, there is a special plant. When it comes into contact with human blood, it will begin to dissolve. This kind of thing is often used to cultivate special voodoo or to do some minor surgery of bone setting. If it is very thin, it can quickly dissolve after entering the human body. I used to joke with my junior brother that this kind of thing can kill people invisibly. Really? There is such a magical thing? Yang Ming was interested when he heard it. Yes, I still have some here, but it is a whole piece and not cut into a needle shape. Zhang Jishan nodded and said. Where is it? Let me see. Yang Ming was a little excited. If this kind of thing was really as magical as Zhang Jishan said, then it could really kill people invisibly. There was no doubt that if he used this kind of thing to kill people, even if others wanted to detect it, let alone being investigated. Zhang Jishan said, it is in my house. Brother Yang, if you need it, I will go and get it now. Okay, then you go and get it. I will wait for you here. Yang Ming said eagerly. Zhang Jishan nodded and left Yang Ming's room. He quickly rushed to his residence. After Zhang Jishan left, Yang Ming turned on the computer and used this time to focus on the details of the previous jewelry exhibitions. Sure enough, in the previous jewelry exhibitions, the most expensive jewelry on display was about $100 million. That was already a sky-high price, and it was very rare. It didn't necessarily appear in every exhibition. This time, several pieces of priceless jewelry actually appeared at the same time. This couldn't help but be suspicious. Yang Ming continued to look at the information. Moreover, every jewelry exhibition was held in some first-tier cities or provincial capitals. There had never been one in a second-tier city like Songjiang. As he continued to check, Yang Ming was even more shocked. At the end of the last jewelry exhibition, the chairman of the China Jewelry Association planned to hold the next jewelry exhibition in Mountain City instead of Songjiang. Looking further ahead, he found that at the end of every previous exhibition, the location of the next exhibition would be announced. Every time, it was accurate. The next year would be held in the city that was set the previous year. Only this year's exhibition was a bit special. It was held in Songjiang instead of Mountain City. With so many doubts superimposed together, he had to confirm what Sun Jie said. This jewelry exhibition was indeed problematic, and it should be directed at him or the Mingyang Security Company. Because of the secrecy of Yang Ming's identity, there were not many people who knew that Yang Ming was the behind-the-scenes boss of the Mingyang Security Company. Therefore, Yang Ming couldn't figure out whether this conspiracy was directed at him or the Ming-Yang Security Company. However, no matter who it was directed at, Yang Ming couldn't just sit back and do nothing. Therefore, Sun Jie's method was still very feasible. At that time, he would take advantage of the situation and make her suffer. It didn't take long for Zhang Jishan to rush back with a bag in his hand. He hurriedly opened the bag and put it in front of Yang Ming. "Brother Yang, it's this plant." Yang Ming took out a piece of wood-like thing from the box and looked at it carefully. Indeed, the tissue structure of this plant was very special, and the fiber was very hard. It was very suitable for making some sharp weapons and the like. "This thing, are you sure it can be melted?" asked Yang Ming incredulously. "I'm sure." Zhang Jishan nodded and found a very small fragment in the bag. Then, he suddenly bit his finger and dripped a drop of blood on the fragment. Soon, the fragment melted and disappeared. Yang Ming widened his eyes and looked at the magical scene in front of him. Indeed, it was a bit too magical. Perhaps some substance in the blood had a chemical reaction with this plant, but Yang Ming didn't know what was going on. "It's really a good thing." Yang Ming nodded and praised sincerely. Zhang Jishan smiled and said, "Brother Yang, you should study it first. If it's useful, I will ask someone to bring some over." "Okay, you go ahead." "I will study it myself," said Yang Ming. Zhang Jishan couldn't help if he stayed here, so he got up and left. Yang Ming wanted to study this material, so naturally, he didn't ask him to stay. After Zhang Jishan left, Yang Ming carefully studied this material. It had to be said that this kind of thing was enough to be made into a flying needle for killing people regardless of toughness or hardness. Chapter 1073. Thinking of this, Yang Ming took out the toolbox and began to carefully polish this material. According to the size of the material, hundreds of flying needles could be processed. Although this kind of work could be handed over to the outside factory for mass processing, Yang Ming couldn't wait. Secondly, this material was really special. If the person who processed it accidentally discovered the secret inside when the finger bled, then it would be somewhat unfavorable to him. If he used it as a hidden weapon to kill people, if the person was a scheming person, they might association something from it. This wasn't what Yang Ming wanted to see. However, Yang Ming wasn't in a hurry. After carefully processing 5 needles, he stopped. With these 5 needles, it was basically enough. After he finished using them, it wouldn't be too late to make new ones. However, even if Yang Ming only made 5 such flying needles, it took a lot of time. After all, Yang Ming wasn't a professional, and polishing took a lot of effort. After Yang Ming finished the 5 needles, he carefully put them in his pocket where he could reach at any time. Looking at the time again, it was basically the appointed time with Sun Jie. Yang Ming carefully put the remaining materials in the cabinet and then went downstairs. Yang Ming left a little earlier. This time was just the rush hour for students to get off work and leave school, so traffic jams on the road were inevitable. He drove to Sun Jie's company, and Zhang Jishan drove slowly behind Yang Ming. It was exactly 5:40 when he arrived downstairs at Sun Jie's company. It was 20 minutes away from the appointed time of 6 o'clock. Yang Ming called Sun Jie. Sun Jie was also busy with the company's matters and was packing up. After receiving a call from Yang Ming, she said that she would come down soon. Sure enough, Yang Ming didn't wait for long. He saw Sun Jie coming out of the company. Yang Ming got out of the car and opened the door of the front passenger seat. "You drove? What about my car?" Sun Jie walked over to Yang Ming and asked. "Leave your car in the company first. Anyway, it's an underground heater. The car won't be frozen," said Yang Ming. In fact, Yang Ming didn't want to drive Sun Jie's sports car every time he went out with her. The Audi R8 had become Sun Jie's symbol. Almost everyone who knew Sun Jie knew her car. If Yang Ming drove that car, it would be somewhat suspicious of him living off a woman. Even if Yang Ming's face was very thick, he didn't want to always be looked down on. Besides, Sun Jie's face might not look good. Then you have to take me home, Sun Jie said as she got in the car. I'll stay at your house tonight. Yang Ming smiled. Sun Jie glared at Yang Ming and said, You wish. I'm going to talk to you about something important. Yang Ming looked straight and said, About the real estate company, I am going to enter the real estate industry. I heard that a while ago, you bought decaying real estate at a good price, said Sun Jie. But if you want to enter the real estate industry, it is a bit complicated. The water in the real estate industry is deeper. Our family has been doing other businesses for many years before we switched to real estate. However, almost all the underground forces in Songjiang are yours. There should be no obstacles. Even the existing real estate companies don't dare to trouble you. Yeah, but I still have a lot of things in the industry that I don't know. I want to ask you for advice, said Yang Ming. Well, then let's meet tonight. Sun Jie thought about it and did not refuse again. The location of Sun Jie's appointment was the Nightless Club. As the iconic entertainment city of Songjiang, the Nightless Club was very popular with white-collar workers in some companies. Everyone knew tacitly that the owner of this nightclub had a strong background. It was very safe to play here and not encounter any troublemakers. Indeed, who dared to find trouble in Bao Sanli's base camp? Weren't they tired of living? These white-collar workers also wanted peace of mind, so the business of the Nightless Club was also very popular. Although this was a money tree, Bao Sanli's vision at this moment was not so short-sighted. He also saw the future and business opportunities of the security company. He ran the security company with Ho Jinhan. Yang Ming parked the car. In front of the Nightless Club, there was a very large parking lot for self-use. It looked very grand, especially the rows of parking spaces that were full. It showed that the business of the Nightless Club was booming. Welcome, sir, madam. Do you have an appointment? The greeters standing on both sides of the door politely bowed and greeted. These two little girls were very good-looking. They were considered superior, but no one dared to flirt with them. Although these little greeters did not have a big background, the boss behind them was not someone that ordinary people could provoke. A sharp-eyed security guard recognized Yang Ming at once. He glared at the greeter and hurried over. He greeted, Brother Yang. You are here. Yang Ming smiled and waved his hand. It's okay. You go ahead. I came here with a friend to gather. I have already booked a room. Okay, Brother Yang. If there is anything, call me at any time. When the security guard heard Yang Ming's words, he knew that Yang Ming did not want to be disturbed, so he quickly retreated. Lilac private room. We can go up by ourselves. Sun Jie smiled and looked at Yang Ming. This feeling was really fun. Just like when she was in Donghai, when she went in and out of some entertainment venues, people would recognize her and respectfully call her Miss Sunday. After Yang Ming and Sun Jie left, the greeter asked the security guard next to him. This security guard was the security captain here, President Bao's confidant. He didn't know who could make him so respectful. Brother Wang, who are the two people just now? Brother Bao's brother, a big shot. It is said that he met Brother Bao in prison. Later, he fought with Brother Bao. Even Brother Bao is very respectful to him. The security captain didn't know much. He only knew some general information, but even so, it was enough for him to brag. Ah! The little greeter was stunned and said, I really didn't see it. He doesn't look very old. He seems to be about the same age as me. What do you mean by about the same age? The security captain glared at her. Don't talk nonsense, and don't have those unrealistic ideas. Brother Yang won't be interested in you. Ah. The little greeter was exposed by the security captain, and she suddenly blushed. However, vanity was the nature of a girl at this age. Who would want to be a greeter for a lifetime? Many of her sisters had hooked up with some rich people. Although many of them were just mistresses or lovers, they also got houses, money, and other things they wanted. It was impossible to say that Shinyushi was not tempted. Although she felt that it was a bit shameful to exchange her youth and body for money, wasn't she selling her youth now? Who would want her to be a greeter when she was old and no longer attractive? Fortunately, as a greeter in the Nightless Club, as long as it was not voluntary, no one dared to force them to do anything. Sometimes, it was a blessing to have a tough boss. After Shinyushi heard the introduction of the security captain, Brother Wang, she was a little tempted by Yang Ming because Shinyushi felt that her appearance was one of the best in the entire Nightless Club. She couldn't find a fat middle-aged uncle to be her boyfriend. She saw that Yang Ming was young, and his background was not simple, so she was a little tempted. However, after being splashed with cold water by Brother Wang, Shinyushi also sobered up. Just now, Yang Ming didn't look at her, which made Shinyushi feel a little lost. The appearance that she had always been proud of was dispensable in his eyes. Pushing open the door of the lilac private room on the second floor, Yang Ming walked in behind Sun Jie, but he found out that Yang Li was also sitting there, and Guo Jianchao and his girlfriend were also inside. However, there was a couple that Yang Ming had not seen before. Why didn't you say that Yang Li is also here? Yang Ming glanced at Yang Li in the private room and said with a bitter smile. Although the relationship between Yang Ming and Yang Li had eased a lot, with this relative here, the relationship between Yang Ming and Sun Jie couldn't be relaxed. You didn't ask me, right? Sun Jie smiled slyly. She also knew that Yang Ming would be dishonest when he was with her, but with Yang Li, it was obvious that Yang Ming would be restrained a lot. When Guo Jianchao saw Yang Ming, his face suddenly changed. He naturally knew that Sun Jie was Yang Ming's woman. It was precisely because of this that Guo Jianchao and Sun Jie had maintained a good relationship in private. Of course, it was a pure friendship relationship. Guo Jianchao didn't dare to have any improper thoughts, but he didn't want to. He was afraid that Yang Ming would misunderstand something. However, Guo Jianchao thought about it again. His girlfriend was also here, so he was relieved. He stood up and wanted to say hello to Yang Ming. Yang Ming shook his head secretly and signaled him not to speak. Because he didn't know who the other couple was, Yang Ming didn't want to expose his identity in front of outsiders. However, Yang Li was an exception. Yang Ming had to smile and said, "Big sister, you are here too." Yang Li nodded and smiled. However, she was very suspicious about the relationship between Yang Ming and Sun Jie because she knew that Yang Ming and Sun Jie were just pretending to be boyfriend and girlfriend. Today, there was no one who pursued Sun Jie. Guo Jianchao already had a girlfriend, so he wouldn't have any thoughts about Sun Jie. What did Sun Jie mean by bringing Yang Ming to such a party? However, after thinking about it, perhaps because Zhang Xiaodan brought her boyfriend today, Sun Jie also brought Yang Ming to keep up appearances. Otherwise, it would seem that she was a leftover woman. Of course, these were just Yang Li's guesses. This is my boyfriend, Yang Ming. Sun Jie generously introduced Yang Ming to the few people present. Jianchao, all of you have known each other for a long time. Not to mention Yang Li. Only Zhang Xiaodan is seeing him for the first time. Chapter 1074. Zhang Xiaodan was Yang Li's classmate. Sun Jie knew her through Yang Li. It was said that her family had some power, but Sun Jie didn't ask much. People at Sun Jie's family level didn't like to inquire about other people's lives. Sun Jie just felt that Zhang Xiaodan was a good person. She was not very pompous, so they often ate together. Guo Jianchao was the one who paid the bill every time. Since he was willing to come, then let him come. It didn't matter. Hello. Zhang Xiaodan stood up in a friendly manner and reached out to shake hands with Yang Ming. I am Yang Li's classmate. Since you are Yang Li's brother, then I am also your sister, Well, hello, Sister Zhang. Yang Ming nodded in an easygoing manner and reached out his hand. Okay, Xiaodan, don't just shake hands with boys. The man next to Zhang Xiaodan saw that Yang Ming wanted to shake hands with Zhang Xiaodan, but he was a little unhappy. Lu Liang, what are you doing? Yang Ming is Yang Li's brother. I am his sister. Don't think so complicate. Zhang Xiaodan listened to her boyfriend's words and was a little displeased. She frowned and said, That's not necessarily true. Isn't Sun Jia older than you? Didn't he still get her? Lu Liang said, unwilling to be outdone. You. Zhang Xiaodan saw that her boyfriend's words were so unpleasant, and her face suddenly became a little ugly. It was the first time she brought him out to eat. Why was it so unharmonious? It was really embarrassing. Originally, Zhang Xiaodan thought that Lu Liang was very good, but she didn't expect Lu Liang to be so jealous. Yang Ming was a little unhappy when he heard Lu Liang's words. Sun Jia was older than him, but this method of exposing others' shortcomings made Yang Ming very uncomfortable, so he said coldly, If you are afraid of your girlfriend interacting with others, just leave her at home and don't bring her out. Yang Li saw that the atmosphere was awkward and quickly mediated. Okay, Xiaodan, Lu Liang is also worried about you. Yang Li, your brother's words are too unrefined. How can he speak like this? Lu Liang snorted and said disdainfully. Yang Ming really had the impulse to punch this idiot to death. How can there be such a man? He wondered what Zhang Xiaodan saw in him. That's all I have to say. If you don't want to listen, then leave. When had Yang Ming ever been afraid of anyone? Naturally, he wouldn't give Lu Liang any face. What are you talking about? Do you know how to speak properly? Lu Liang was also anxious. Yang Li, don't say that I didn't give you face. It was your brother who took the initiative to provoke me. If he really pisses me off, don't blame me for not being polite. Do whatever you want. Guo Jianchao was naturally a loyal supporter of Yang Ming. Since Yang Ming had stepped forward, of course, he would not show weakness. He waved his hand and said to Lu Liang impatiently, No one here welcomes you. Who the fuck are you? Do you think you are garlic because you have a dick on your head? Ha 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 ha. Guo Jinchao's words made his girlfriend, Song Jing, laugh out loud. At this point, the scene had become extremely awkward. Lu Liang was also insulted by Guo Jianchao. Although he was angry, he also heard from Zhang Xiaodan that Guo Jianchao had some power in Songjiang, so he didn't dare to be rash and had to swallow his anger. Seeing that Lu Liang didn't speak, Yang Ming no longer bothered with him. This time, he came mainly for Sun Jia, not for him. Guo Jianchao handed the menu to Sun Jia, but Lu Liang couldn't look at it anymore. He said, Xiaodan likes to eat candied sweet potatoes. I want a plate. Guo Jianchao suddenly frowned, but Sun Jia waved her hand and said, Okay, then add a candied sweet potato. Sun Jia returned the menu to the waiter who came in. The moment the waiter opened the door, Yang Ming suddenly felt that there was a small red dot flashing on Sun Jia. Yang Ming was shocked and subconsciously dragged Sun Jia to the side. This was some kind of positioning system when aiming a gun. The closer the distance, the more obvious the red dot was. At the same time when Yang Ming pulled Sun Jia away, gunshots rang out. It didn't hit Sun Jia, but it hit Lu Liang's shoulder. Lu Liang's throat let out a miserable cry, then, a few people in black suits quickly broke into the private room and knocked the waiter who had ordered the dishes to the ground. Don't, just as he uttered the first half of the word move, an indescribable sound came from his throat. His eyes rolled back as he fell to the ground. There was a fork stuck between his eyebrows. The gun in his hand also ran into Yang Ming's hand. The people in the room were shocked except for Sun Jia. Guo Jianchao and Yang Li were still okay. After all, the two of them had experienced some dangerous things with Yang Ming, but Zhang Xiaodan and Lu Liang were already scared. Lu Liang directly rolled his eyes and lay on the ground. It was unknown whether he fainted from fright or from the pain of being shot. Yang Ming put the muzzle on the nearest black-shirted man's head and said faintly, "The people who should not move should be you." After Yang Ming found that someone wanted to shoot Sun Jie, he pulled Sun Jie aside to avoid the disaster. His heart was also secretly alert, so when someone broke into the private room, Yang Ming had already taken the fork on the table in his hand. After this person came in, he directly killed him with the fork and took the gun in his hand. Originally, Yang Ming wanted to use the flying needle to test the effect of the flying needle, but because the people in front of him were very complicated, Zhang Xiaodan and Lu Liang didn't know their background. Even if Yang Li and Guo Jianchao were trustworthy people, Yang Ming was not willing to expose too many of his secrets. He had long heard that Yang Ming was very fierce. Today, when he saw it, Guo Jianchao was even more impressed. He didn't dare to have any disloyalty to Yang Ming. Yang Ming killed a person with a raise of his hand, and it was even killed with a fork. This made Guo Jianchao even more afraid of Yang Ming. It was even more shocking than when Yang Ming pulled out a gun in front of Bao Sanli. Especially Yang Ming's cool and unrestrained way of pointing a gun at the gangster, it was even more invincible. Seeing that one of the accomplices was dead, and another was restrained, the third black-shirted man standing on the side suddenly didn't know what to do. He wanted to catch someone as a hostage, but he found that the smart Sun Jie had already evacuated to the other side of the private room with Guo Jianchao, far away from the door. How smart was Sun Jie? She was also born in this kind of half-underworld family. Naturally, she knew what to do in the face of such danger. At this time, the third black-shirted man didn't dare to act rashly. He was afraid that Yang Ming would shoot, so he stood by with his hands tied. Although he hated Yang Ming, he was also afraid that Yang Ming would shoot his big brother. They were three brothers. The one who was forked by Yang Ming was the second brother of the third black-shirted man. It wasn't that the third brother didn't want to avenge his brother's death, but the boss was still in the hands of Yang Ming. Did he dare to act? "Who are you? Who sent you?" Yang Ming wasn't in a hurry and asked faintly. Seeing that the situation had been controlled by himself, Yang Ming smiled secretly. "If you want to kill, then just kill. Why are you talking so much nonsense?" The boss who was controlled by Yang Ming was a man. He said very heroically, "Big brother, don't." The third brother was a little anxious. "We are paid to do this. Why do we have to put our lives on the line?" "Third brother, don't talk so much nonsense. Don't be a coward," the boss said coldly. Yang Ming was secretly amused. This boss is really a forthright person. It's just that he wants to kill Sun Jie. Yang Ming wouldn't let him go no matter what. Right at this moment, there was a knock on the door of the private room. Because these three people had barged in at the right time, no one outside saw them at all. And in a place like the entertainment city where the music was so loud, the sound of gunshots was easily covered up, so no one would notice. As soon as the knock on the door sounded, the atmosphere in the room immediately became tense again. Yang Ming frowned. Why would someone knock on the door at this time? Any small thing may change the direction of the development of the situation. Yang Ming didn't want to create more problems. He glanced at the door with his special ability and found that it was the waitress of the Nightless Club. She looked familiar, but he forgot where he saw her. The third brother and the boss were also stunned, but the third brother immediately realized that his opportunity had come. The third brother suddenly said, "Please come in." Yang Ming seemed to be aware of this. When the third brother opened his mouth, he immediately said, "Don't come in." However, he was still slower than the third brother. The door of the private room was slowly pushed open. Yang Ming used his special ability to see the situation outside and delayed some time. Otherwise, he wouldn't be slower than the third brother. This made Yang Ming suddenly regret it. He always wanted to rely on his special ability when he had it, but when he really used his special ability, it delayed the important matters. It seems that I can't always rely on my special ability in the future. Otherwise, it is likely to be counterproductive. But things have already come to this, so I can only act according to the circumstances. When it was time for Shinyushi to change shifts, she went to the locker room to change back to her own clothes. However, she met one of her sisters who was a waitress here in the locker room. She was changing her clothes and preparing to go to work. The sisters happened to be in charge of the second floor, and the Lilac Club private room was on the second floor. Just now, Shinyushi heard that Yang Ming was in the Lilac Club private room, so at this moment, her heart was active again. Young girls love to fantasize. Every beautiful Cinderella hoped to find her own Prince Charming. Shinyushi was no exception. Shinyushi naturally wouldn't let go of an opportunity to contact Yang Ming. So, she proposed to the sisters that she wanted to help the sisters as a waitress for one night. It was actually normal for employees to work part-time in private. They just had to inform the foreman. Of course, the premise was that both people agreed. Moreover, the person who worked part-time must be someone who worked in the nightless club. When the sisters saw that someone was working for them for free, they naturally agreed. She took off her uniform and gave it to Shinyushi. Then, she called the foreman and happily went on a date with her boyfriend. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.